Chapter 2877. Under the watchful eyes of Ji Tianqing and the Black Mermaid King, the two gods bid farewell and left. Looking at their departing backs, the Black Mermaid King frowned and muttered softly. "Young Master Tianqing, you're letting them go just like that? What if they meet you and Qingkong on their way back? Won't our plan be exposed?" Although the Black Mermaid King was defeated by Ji Tianqing and had surrendered in humiliation, Ji Tianqing did not deliberately humiliate him or make things difficult for him. Therefore, the Black Mermaid King chose to forget the humiliation and acted as if nothing had happened. He followed Ji Tianqing closely and maintained a respectful attitude, following Ji Tianqing's lead. In terms of scheming, methods, and strength, he was not Ji Tianqing's opponent. Only by obediently following orders could he preserve his life and dignity. If he performed well enough, he could even gain some benefits. Why not do it? Therefore, he was very humble now and almost treated himself as Ji Tianqing's subordinate. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and smiled. "Don't worry, those two gods are from the Raging Flame Divine Nation. They will head southwest and will not meet you in Qingkong. Moreover, I have already reminded them. Even if there is a 1 in 1,000 chance, they will know what to say if they meet you in Qingkong." The Black Mermaid King was relieved and nodded. "That's good. You have considered everything." After saying that, he extended his hand and made an inviting gesture. He smiled and said, "Young Master Tianqing, please return to the palace to rest. I have already arranged for good wine and delicacies, and the two most beautiful girls of my race to serve you. No matter which spacetime it was, no matter which race it was. Beauties and good wine were very attractive." The Black Mermaid King thought of ways to please Ji Tianqing. He only wanted to settle this matter as soon as possible and send this terrifying fellow away. However, Ji Tianqing stopped in his tracks and looked to the side. His lips curled into a cold smile. The beauty standards of the Black Mermaid race are truly unflattering. The Black Mermaid King's voice stopped abruptly. He looked at him awkwardly and asked guiltily, "Young Master Tianqing, is there a problem?" Ji Tianqing sneered, "You said that the white-robed young Protoss looked like me." The Black Mermaid King was stunned for a moment before he nodded in confusion. "Yes, what's wrong?" Ji Tianqing was getting angrier and angrier. He said bitterly, "Apart from our height and clothes, which part of me is similar to that white-robed young man? I am handsome and valiant, my face is so handsome, my eyes are as bright as the stars, my temperament is as deep as the sea, mysterious and unfathomable. On the other hand, that fellow had an ordinary appearance and a mediocre temperament. He didn't have the demeanor of an expert at all. Tell me, how does he resemble me?" The Black Mermaid King was a little confused. He blinked his 4 little eyes and thought for a while before giving a reasonable explanation. "I see that you're all humans, and your appearances are similar. They all had 1 head, 2 legs, 2 arms, and 1 mouth. They didn't have wings, tails, or anything like that. Aren't they the same?" Ji Tianqing rolled his eyes helplessly. "Forget it, I can't get through to you. Pretend that I didn't say anything. Luckily, I was attentive enough to refine that fellow's right palm and left my aura. Otherwise, you and Qingkong might not have believed me." The Black Mermaid King quickly nodded and said, "Young Master Tianqing, don't worry. Yuan Qingkong hates you to the core. When he sees those 3 items, he will definitely take the bait. Let's wait patiently in the palace. He will be here very soon." Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said, "Don't waste time. Go and mobilize the experts under your command and finish setting up the defenses as soon as possible. I still need to set up some measures just in case." The Black Mermaid King had no choice but to give up on the idea of resting. He nodded and said, "All right, then let's do our jobs and work together to take down Yuan Qingkong." After that, the two of them went their separate ways. The Black Mermaid King led the guardians and priests to deploy the troops and set up the defenses on the Black Mermaid Island. Ji Tianqing acted alone and buried many spies on the Black Mermaid Island. They would be effective at the crucial moment. Unknowingly, 6 hours had passed. The afternoon sun was scorching hot, and the sea around the Black Mermaid Island was very calm. The close to 100 Black Mermaid warriors on the island were all tired and sleepy. After all, they were more used to staying at the dark and cold bottom of the sea. It was very uncomfortable to be exposed to the sun on land. At this moment, a Black Mermaid expert blew the conch horn and shouted, "Someone is coming from 10,000 miles to the south." The loud voice spread across half of the island. Instantly, the hundreds of black mackerel warriors were energized, and became energetic. In the palace, in the main hall, Ji Tianqing, the Black Mermaid King, and the rest who were resting with their eyes closed also opened their eyes. The Black Mermaid King smiled and said, "It should be Yuan Qingkong. Young Master Tianqing, please hide for a while. Let me handle this." Ji Tianqing nodded and turned to walk into the secret room in the corner of the main hall. Soon, he was in a sorry state with tattered clothes and bloodstains all over his body. His hair was disheveled, and his breathing was weak. His limbs were tied up by the 10,000-year-cold iron chains, and he looked like he was unconscious. In the main hall, the Black Mermaid King sat on the throne that was studded with gems. The guardians and priests stood on the left and right sides, and there were 6 elite experts at the bottom of the stairs. Not long later, the voice of a guard came from outside the main hall. "My king, the Qingshan city lord is here to visit my king. He requests to enter the island." The Black Mermaid King grinned and revealed a mocking sneer. He said in a dignified tone, "Bring him to see me." The guard outside the main hall acknowledged the order and turned to leave. Another 100 breaths passed. A team of more than 100 people passed through the square and arrived outside the palace. The leader of the team was Yuan Qingkong, who wore a purple robe and a jade crown. Beside him was an expert in a gray robe and a large cloak. His face could not be seen clearly. This person was skinny and a little stooped. His breathing was obscure, and he did not attract any attention. He was Yuan Qingkong's shadow supervisor, Yan Zong. Other than these 2 Sir God experts, the remaining 100 heaven gods were all wearing silver armor and carrying swords and sabers. Obviously, they were the elite guards of the city lord's mansion. The 100 guards stayed outside the main hall with their hands on the hilts of their sabers and swords. They guarded both sides of the main door and the main road. Yuan Qingkong led the expert in a gray robe and walked up the stairs into the main hall. Yuan Qingkong stood in the middle of the spacious hall and greeted the Black Mermaid King with a loud voice. "Black Mermaid King, how have you been?" There wasn't the slightest difference in his expression and tone. He was as dignified and decisive as ever. The Black Mermaid King looked at him with a smile and nodded. "Old thief Yuan, after so many years, you have indeed aged. All right, I shall not waste any more time with you. Let's talk business. Have you brought the other 80% of the resources?" Chapter 2878. The Black Mermaid King and Yuan Qingkong didn't have any friendship. Both of them were just cooperating for mutual benefits. The Black Mermaid King had always been arrogant and didn't bother to exchange pleasantries with him. He pretended to be friendly. The moment they met, he went straight to the point and asked for money. Yuan Qingkong squinted his eyes and stroked the black thumb ring on his left thumb. He smiled and said, "Of course I have brought the things you want. They are all here." As he spoke, he cast a secret magic to show the contents of the thumb ring to Nye Tian and Nye Tian in the form of divine light. Swoosh! A light screen with a radius of 100 feet appeared in the air of the hall. On the 5-colored light screen, there were piles of pearls and divine stones, as well as neatly arranged armors and divine weapons. The Black Mermaid King, the priest, the protector, and the 6 Black Mermaid experts all stared at the light screen. Seeing the pearls, divine stones, and divine weapons, everyone's eyes lit up and their breathing quickened. Yuan Qingkong waved his hand and kept the light screen. He said proudly, "Black Mermaid King, there are 24,000 pearls, 240 million divine stones, and 24,000 sets of divine weapons and equipment here. I have prepared the items. Now, you have to hand over the Qi family's offerings for me to verify. If there are no problems, let's have a pleasant cooperation. 1 for 1, 1 for the goods." The Black Mermaid King leaned on his throne and sneered. Logically speaking, this is how the transaction should go. However, the situation is different now. After the Qi family received the news, they are willing to pay double the price to redeem the Qi family's offerings. Tell me, if this king misses this opportunity to make a fortune, wouldn't he be blamed by the people? Keek keek. Yuan Qingkong had expected that the Black Mermaid King wouldn't hand over the Qi family's offerings so easily and was mentally prepared. However, when the Black Mermaid King said those words, his shameless face made Yuan Qingkong clench his fists secretly. He wished he could punch the Black Mermaid King to death. However, Yuan Qingkong suppressed his anger and remained calm. He shook his head and sneered. "To be honest, I passed by the Mystic Light Island on my way here and asked about the Qi family's situation. Those useless people from the Qi family are still discussing and arguing. They can't come to a decision. Black Mermaid King, don't expect the Qi clan to pay the ransom. The young master of the Qi clan is a hedonistic son of the Qi clan, he can't make a decision. You are destined to be happy for nothing. Therefore, I advise you to abide by the agreement and hand over the Qi family's offerings and take the benefits that belong to you." Seeing how confident Yuan Qingkong was, the Black Mermaid King laughed even more mockingly. "Old thief Yuan, you should know the Qi family's young master better than I do. He was a good-for-nothing, so he didn't care about the Qi family's wealth and foundation at all. He is unswervingly loyal to the Qi family, and for the sake of brotherhood, he has already agreed to this king's conditions." After saying that, the Black Mermaid King shouted to the outside of the main hall, "Men, bring the Qi clan's envoy into the main hall." The guards outside the hall acknowledged the order. Yuan Qingkong frowned and his expression changed. Messengers from the Qi family? He subconsciously turned his head to look at the entrance of the hall and saw a silver-haired young man in a white robe walking into the hall. The silver-haired youth glared at Yuan Qingkong as he walked past him. Then, the silver-haired youth stood in the middle of the main hall and cupped his fists at the Black Mermaid King. Messengers from the Qi family, by Long, greets the Black Mermaid King. At the same time, Yen Zong transmitted a message to Yuan Qingkong. "City Lord, this young man is called Bai Long, and he is the disciple of the Qi family's offerings. He has already become Qi Huangji's trusted aide." Yuan Qingkong nodded silently, indicating that he understood. At this time, Bai Long said to the Black Mermaid King, "Black Mermaid King, the young master and my master are as close as brothers. Now that my master is in trouble, the young master can't eat or sleep in peace. Whatever price Yuan Qingkong offered, the young master is willing to pay double. 60,000 sets of heavenly god equipment, 60,000 pearls, and 600 million divine stones. The Qi family can afford it. Here is half of the deposit. As long as the Black Mermaid King is willing to release the Qi family, we will quickly give you the other half." After saying that, Bai Long took out a pitch-black interspatial ring and presented it to the Black Mermaid King. The priest quickly took the ring and used his divine sense to check the number of items in it with a serious expression. After a while, he nodded to the Black Mermaid King and kept the interspatial ring. The Black Mermaid King was very satisfied. He smiled and nodded. "Very good. Envoy from the Qi family, you are very sincere. I will accept the deposit." Then, he looked at Yuan Qingkong and sneered. Alright, old thief Yuan, there is nothing for you to do here. You are so insincere. I look down on you. Send the guest out. The Black Mermaid King did not give Yuan Qingkong any chance to bargain. He immediately asked him to leave. Yuan Qingkong's expression changed drastically. He was shocked and humiliated. He stared at Bai Long and thought to himself, Qi Huanji, that trash. How is this possible? Bai Long also stared at him with a cold smile. His eyes were filled with killing intent and contempt. Yuan Qingkong was the city lord. When had he ever been humiliated like this? He shouted without hesitation. Wait. Yan Zong guessed what he was going to do. He quickly tried to dissuade him. City lord, calm down. We have not even seen the Qi family's offerings. Don't agree rashly. There might be a trap. However, Yuan Qingkong was anxious and angry. How could he listen to Yan Zong's advice? He looked at the Black Mermaid King and said sternly, Black Mermaid King. The Qi family's offerings are mine. No one can take them away from me. You can't break our agreement. That is treachery. Not only will I give you 80% of the resources, but I will also give you 20,000 pearls, 200 million god stones, and 20,000 sets of heaven god equipment. Return the Qi family's deposit now and hand over the Qi family's offerings. I will give you the items immediately. As he spoke, Yuan Qingkong took off the thumb ring on his left hand and a space ring on his right hand. The Black Mermaid King hesitated. He looked at his thumb ring and space ring before looking at the black space ring that Bai Long offered. The guardian and priest also frowned. They looked like they were in a dilemma. The two of them exchanged glances with each other before they tried to persuade the Black Mermaid King. The Black Mermaid King quickly came up with an idea. He said solemnly, Old thief Yuan, you have given me a difficult problem. If I agree to you now, I will immediately get 500 million god stones, 50,000 sets of equipment, and pearls. If I agree to the Qi family's terms, the Qi family will be able to gather the other 50% of the resources in 10 days to half a month. By then, I will get 600 million god stones, 60,000 sets of equipment, and pearls. After pondering for a while, the Black Mermaid King shook his head. Yuan Qingkong, I cannot agree to this. For the sake of the Black Mermaid tribe, I would rather wait for another half a month to get more benefits. Hearing this, Bai Long revealed an expression of relief. He glanced at Yuan Qingkong proudly. Yuan Qingkong was enraged. He growled with a pale face, Black Mermaid King. Don't push your luck. Send the guest out. The Black Mermaid King ordered expressionlessly. Yuan Qingkong hesitated for a while before he finally made up his mind. Wait. I still have a priceless treasure that you will definitely be interested in. End of chapter. Chapter 2879. Yuan Qingkong's cold voice caused the hall to tremble slightly. Yan Zong's old body trembled as well. Sigh. The city lord is too impatient. He has been forced to use his trump card so quickly. Although no one could see Yan Zong's expression, he sighed silently in his heart. Bai Long's expression changed abruptly. He was filled with fear and worry. As for the Black Merman King, the guardian, and the priest, their eyes lit up. What treasure? The Black Merman King stared at Yuan Qingkong with his 4 bright eyes and said with a smile, You old thief, you are indeed cunning. Since you have prepared the treasure, why didn't you take it out earlier? Yuan Qingkong was so frustrated that he almost vomited blood. He wanted to smash the Black Merman King into meat paste. If it weren't for your insatiable greed, would I be willing to take out the dragon pearl? He roared in his heart. He was so angry that his liver hurt. However, since things had come to this, he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. Opening his interspatial ring, he took out a fist-sized, multicolored orb from within. Swoosh! The orb blossomed with dazzling light, illuminating the entire hall with a dazzling brilliance. Moreover, the pearl was emitting a mysterious energy wave. The consciousness of everyone in the hall was affected. Their expressions were a little excited, and they felt a little dizzy. Seeing that everyone was staring at the pearl in surprise, Yuan Qingkong introduced it. This is a rare treasure that I have kept for 150 years, the 100-poison crocodile dragon pearl. It came from an upper divine lord ancient crocodile dragon. It has gathered hundreds of rare poisons and has incredible power. Anyone who can become an upper divine lord will be able to refine this crocodile dragon pearl and obtain immeasurable power. Black Merman King, you should know the value of this pearl. Even if you have 10 billion god stones, you will not be able to buy this rare treasure. The Black Merman King nodded in agreement. He said excitedly, "That's right. Such a rare treasure cannot be measured by god stones. It is an insult to the ancient crocodile dragon." Yuan Qingkong felt much better. He said proudly, "If that is the case, I will part with this treasure and use this 100-poison crocodile dragon pearl to exchange for the Qi family's offerings. As for these pearls, godstones, and equipment, I'll take them back." After saying that, he was about to put away the thumb ring and the jade ring. The Black Mermaid King grinned and said, "No. Leave the 100-poison crocodile dragon pearl behind. I also want those divine stones, equipment, and pearls." Yuan Qingkong's heart, which had just relaxed, instantly tightened. His face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. His vision darkened, and the blood in his body flowed in reverse. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Black Mermaid King. How can you be so shameless? The Black Mermaid King was not ashamed at all. He even sneered proudly, "Kakik. Don't you know that you shouldn't show off your wealth? Since I've seen it, how can I let it go? If it were you, wouldn't you be tempted?" Yuan Qingkong's face stiffened. He was stunned. It seemed to make sense. Without waiting for him to speak, the Black Shark King clapped his hands and said, "All right, it's settled then." He casually picked up the black ring and threw it in front of Bai Long. He said in a deep voice, "Envoy of the Qi family, take your deposit. I don't care about it anymore." This. Bai Long picked up the interspatial ring and stood rooted to the ground anxiously. "Send the guest off." The Black Mermaid King waved his hand mercilessly. Two Black Mermaid experts immediately rushed to Bai Long's side and carried him out of the main hall. Seeing this, Yuan Qingkong finally heaved a sigh of relief. "Black Mermaid King, since we've reached an agreement, it's time for you to hand him over." The Black Mermaid King did not waste any time and ordered the protector, "Bring that kid out." The protector quickly turned around and went through a secret door at the corner of the main hall, entering a dark secret room. After a while, he personally carried Ji Tianqing back to the main hall. At this moment, Ji Tianqing's clothes were tattered, his hair was messy, his face was dirty, and his body was covered in blood. His injuries were extremely miserable. His limbs were tied up with 10,000 years old cold iron chains. His breathing was weak, and he was still unconscious. Yuan Qingkong stared at him without blinking. After seeing Bai Long's situation, the expression on his face gradually turned ferocious. His eyes were cold and filled with hatred. "Ha ha ha ha," Yuan Qingkong laughed and roared in a low voice, "Little bastard. You're finally in my hands. I've been waiting for this day for too long. If I don't cut you into pieces and grind your bones to dust, how can I vent my hatred?" At this moment, the anger, killing intent, and hatred that Yuan Qingkong had accumulated for a long time could finally be released. Although he had to pay 10 billion god stones and a priceless crocodile dragon pearl, he was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. However, if he could get Ji Tianqing, who was severely injured and unconscious, it was all worth it. "I'll leave him to you. Give me the items." The Black Mermaid Protector came in front of Yuan Qingkong and threw the unconscious Ji Tianqing to Yuan Qingkong. Yuan Qingkong was so excited that his eyes turned red. Without hesitation, he took out the black thumb ring, jade ring, and 100 poison crocodile dragon pearl and threw them all to the Black Mermaid Protector. Swoosh! The Black Mermaid Protector accepted the priceless crocodile dragon pearl, thumb ring, and ring with a strange smile in his eyes. At the same time, Yuan Qingkong reached out and grabbed Ji Tianqing. With his left hand holding Ji Tianqing, he impatiently extended 2 fingers and was about to gouge out Ji Tianqing's eyes. Now that he had gotten hold of his enemy, he would gouge out 2 eyeballs to vent his anger before slowly torturing and killing him. However, the Black Mermaid King suddenly roared, "Stop! You an old bastard, if you want to torture him, get out of here. Don't let my palace be stained with blood." Yuan Qingkong was stunned. He did not have time to figure out what was wrong. He retracted his right hand and said in a low voice, "Black Mermaid King, I'll take my leave now. You've tricked me this time. Don't fall into my hands in the future." Humph. After that, Yuan Qingkong brought Yen Zong and flew out of the main hall. At this moment, he only wanted to leave Black Mermaid Island as soon as possible and find a place to torture Ji Tianqing. Looking at his departing figure, the Black Mermaid King sneered mockingly. "Fall into your hands. Ha ha ha. You won't have the chance in this lifetime." Unfortunately, Yuan Qingkong was in a hurry to leave. His mind was filled with thoughts of how to torture and kill Ji Tianqing. He did not hear the Black Mermaid King's sneer at all. After a short 10 breaths, Yuan Qingkong carried Ji Tianqing and flew more than 200 miles away. He was about to leave Black Mermaid Island. Yen Zong and hundreds of guards followed closely behind. For some reason, Yen Zong had a bad premonition, and it was getting stronger and stronger. He subconsciously looked at Ji Tianqing and stared at his right arm under the white sleeve. Suddenly, he realized that something was wrong, and his pupils constricted. Right at this moment, Ji Tianqing, who had been unconscious, suddenly opened his eyes. He instantly unleashed an earth-shattering divine aura and transformed into a 5-colored giant sword, ruthlessly slashing toward Yuan Qingkong. Boom! An earth-shattering boom suddenly exploded in the sky, shaking everything within 3,000 miles. Chapter 2880. A colorful mushroom cloud rose into the sky above the Black Shark Island. A dazzling sword light pierced through the air, releasing a godly aura that could tear the heavens and earth apart. A large rain of blood splashed out, sprinkling down from the sky. Yuan Qingkong let out a shrill cry as he was sent flying like a cannonball. He drew an arc in the sky and flew for over 100 miles before crashing onto the edge of the island. A small mountain of black reefs was smashed into pieces by him, splashing debris all over the sky. A deep pit with a radius of thousands of feet appeared on the ground. The ground shook violently. Yen Zong and the hundreds of city lords' mansion guards were dumbfounded by the sudden turn of events. No one expected that Ji Tianqing, who was in a coma, would attack Yuan Qingkong. His breath was weak, his body was covered in blood, his injuries were terrible, and his limbs were chained up. How could he suddenly wake up? How could he unleash such a terrifying power and injure Yuan Qingkong with one strike? That was too strange. No, there must be a trap. This must be a conspiracy. Yen Zong was the first to regain his senses. He immediately turned into a gray shadow and dashed toward the deep pit at the edge of the island. The leader of the guards also seemed to have woken up from a dream. He shouted, "Quick! Protect the city governor." As he shouted, he led nearly 100 guards and charged towards Yuan Qingkong at the fastest speed possible. Everyone understood without Yen Zong's explanation. This was a conspiracy. The most important thing now was to get the city governor out of the Black Shark Island. Swoosh! Yan Zong dashed into the deep pit and saw Yuan Qingkong lying at the bottom. His purple robe was in tatters, and there was a large bloody hole in his chest. His ribs could be seen clearly. Blood was gushing out of the wound, and there were also pieces of his organs. The heart-wrenching pain made him tremble. His face was distorted. "Ah! I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you into pieces." Yuan Qingkong was furious. He roared in a hoarse voice. Yan Zong hurriedly waved his hand and shot out a ray of divine light to help him suppress his injuries. "City Lord, this is the scheme of the Black Mermaid King and the Qi clan. We have to escape as soon as possible and plan our next move." Yan Zong urged anxiously as he supported Yuan Qingkong and flew into the sky. However, just as the two of them flew out of the deep pit and into the sky. However, he discovered that the entire Black Shark Island was sealed by a formation with a radius of 500 miles. The five-colored wall of light that covered the sky was like a heavenly canopy, releasing an invisible suppressive force. Inside the light wall, the light of ice and fire surged, and the four-colored lightning roamed around like divine dragons. There were even over 10,000 enormous five-colored swords floating in the sky in the surroundings, and they contained a few tens of divine Tao laws. Under the pressure of the divine might, the guards of the City Lord Mansion were all trembling in fear. The divine powers in their bodies became chaotic, and their combat prowess was greatly weakened. Even Yuan Qingkong, who was heavily injured, started to feel his blood boil, and his divine power was unable to circulate smoothly. He. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving." A cold laugh came from the sky. Yan Zong and Yuan Qingkong looked up and saw Ji Tianqing, who was dressed in a white robe, looking down at them with a cold smile. What was even more hateful was that Ji Tianqing had changed his clothes. His robe was as white as snow, and his long hair was clean and elegant. The injuries and bloodstains on his body had all disappeared, and he looked handsome and valiant. How was he in a sorry state at all? Yuan Qingkong instantly understood that Ji Tianqing had been faking it earlier. He was acting. And he had even fooled him. "You bastard!" In his fury, Yuan Qingkong cursed with grief and indignation. He was very regretful. He had been too agitated earlier, and his desire for revenge was too strong, so he had neglected the details. If he had been calmer and more vigilant, he would have been able to see the clues and flaws. However, no matter how much he regretted it now, it was useless. At the same time, the Black Shark King also flew out of the palace and into the sky with the guardian and high priest. The three of them looked at Yuan Qingkong with undisguised disdain on their faces. "Old thief Yuan, I really don't know if water has entered your brain or if you have eaten a dragon's heart and phoenix's guts. You have been defeated by young Master Tianqing again and again. Why don't you know how to restrain yourself? Instead, you are getting crazier. Aren't you digging your own grave?" The Black Shark King shook his head and sighed as if he was bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. Yuan Qingkong was so angry that he vomited blood. He glared at him with bloodshot eyes and shouted, "Black Shark King! You actually cooperated with this bastard to plot against me? Why? He is just a nameless consecrator. I am a noble conferred by the God Nation, the Lord of Qingshan City. There are endless benefits to cooperating with me. However, you cooperated with him. Aren't you digging your own grave?" Yuan Qingkong could not understand. He was filled with grief and indignation. The Black Shark King chuckled and said, "Old thief Yuan, you think too highly of your position as the Lord of Qingshan City. I am also the leader of a tribe. Do you think I am arrogant?" After pausing for a while, he continued, "Moreover, my tribe has always believed that the strong are respected. In terms of strength and methods, young Master Tianqing is far superior to you and me. I almost lost my life when I cooperated with you. Cooperating with young Master Tianqing is the wise choice. You are now severely injured and unable to escape. This is the best proof. Yuan Qingkong instantly understood. Previously, when the Black Shark King led a large group of experts to attack Ji Tianqing outside Mystic Light Island, they were defeated miserably. Ji Tianqing won, but he did not kill the Black Shark King, the priest, and the protector. Therefore, the Black Shark King submitted to him and cooperated with him to set up a trap. Yuan Qingkong was filled with shock. He shook his head in disbelief. This is impossible. At that time, you had 3 Sir Gods, a few hundred Black Shark warriors, and more than 100 elite experts. With such a powerful force, even 2 mid-level Sir Gods could be easily killed. Unless, you did not bring so many people and did not use your full strength. But this should not be the case. Before that, you did not have any relationship with the Qi family. Yuan Qingkong could not understand. He could not accept the fact that Ji Tianqing defeated a few hundred people alone. The Black Shark King sneered. Yuan Qingkong, you are so muddle-headed that you can't even take your opponent seriously. No wonder you were defeated. Young Master Tianqing's strength and methods are unfathomable. How can you imagine? Yuan Qingkong was even more furious. Blood flowed out of his mouth as he roared, *T. He is just a lowly consecrator. How can he? Before Yuan Qingkong could finish, Ji Tianqing shouted coldly, Yuan Qingkong, you talk too much nonsense. Accept your death obediently. Other than dying here, you have no other choice. As he spoke, Ji Tianqing controlled the sword formation with his mind and sped it up. Tens of thousands of giant swords were also ready to attack, locking onto Yuan Qingkong in Yenzong. Yuan Qingkong was filled with killing intent. He gritted his teeth and took out 2 dark gold heavy swords while enduring his injuries. The only thing he could do now was fight to the death. Only then would he have a chance to escape. At this moment, Yenzong, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Chapter 2881. Black Merman King, you better think carefully. The city lord of Yuan City is a noble of the divine nation and is protected by the divine nation. If he dies on Black Merman Island today, the Black Merman tribe will have to bear the wrath and revenge of the divine nation. By then, the divine nation will send an army to annihilate the entire Black Merman tribe. Don't make a mistake. Don't ruin the entire Black Merman tribe just because of the Qi family. Yenzong's tone was cold as he shouted coldly. If you stop now, the Black Merman tribe will not interfere in this battle. Qingshan City will remember this favor and will repay it in the future. With that, the atmosphere in the sky became strange. Yuan Qingkong, Yenzong, and the city lord mansion's guards all looked at the Black Merman King, waiting for him to make a decision. The guardian and priest's expression changed slightly as they hesitated. The Black Merman King also frowned and hesitated. Indeed. He was afraid of Ji Tianqing's strength and methods. He could only submit and cooperate with Ji Tianqing's plan. However, he was more worried that after killing Yuan Qingkong, the Bloodfire Divine Nation would take revenge. By then, the Black Merman tribe would either be annihilated by the Divine Nation's army, or they would migrate away from this sea region and escape to the depths of the Sunset Sea region. However, a few hundred years ago, the Black Merman tribe's territory was in the depths of the Sunset Sea region. They were too weak and were almost annihilated by the other sea tribes. That was why they were forced to escape here. If they escaped back, the Black Merman tribe would soon be swallowed by the stronger sea tribes. Thinking of this, the Black Merman King was even more worried. If the Black Merman tribe did not interfere, they would not offend the Bloodfire Divine Nation. Not only would he be able to swallow the 100 poison crocodile dragon pearl, a few 100 million divine stones, and many other resources, but he would also receive Yuan Qingkong's gift of gratitude. How could he not be tempted by such astronomical wealth? Thinking of this, the Black Merman King's determination started to waver. Seeing the Black Merman King hesitate, Yuan Qingkong and Yen Zong saw hope and were filled with anticipation. As long as the Black Merman tribe did not interfere, they were confident that they could escape from Black Merman Island with just Ji Tianqing alone. Furthermore, they might even be able to turn the tables and kill Ji Tianqing. At this moment, Ji Tianqing glanced at the Black Mermaid King indifferently and said, "Black Mermaid King, this is a grudge between me and the City Lord Manor. You don't have to interfere. I don't want to bring disaster to the Black Mermaids because of this. Take your subordinates and retreat from my sword formation." Hearing this, Yuan Qingkong, Yen Zong, and the guards of the City Lord's mansion were all overjoyed. They sneered inwardly. Ha ha ha. This arrogant and conceited fool is too stupid. Great. As long as the Black Mermaids don't interfere, he won't be able to do anything to us. We might even kill him instead. It seems that the Qi family's consecrator and the Black Mermaid race only have a relationship of interest. Once it's a matter of life and death, this pair of fake allies will collapse. He he he. The Black Mermaid race has always been cunning and greedy. Whoever works with the Black Mermaids will be in deep trouble. They will definitely be betrayed. These thoughts flashed through the minds of Yuan Qingkong and the others. Everyone was waiting for the Black Mermaid race to retreat so that they could attack Ji Tianqing. The Black Mermaid King was also surprised. He turned to look at Ji Tianqing and nodded apologetically. "Thank you, young Master Tianqing, for understanding my difficulties. I am very grateful. Although Yuan Qingkong is severely injured, they have the advantage in numbers. You have to be careful," he reminded Ji Tianqing. Then, he quickly left the Black Mermaid Island with the guardians, priests, and other Black Mermaid elites. There were more than 100 Black Mermaids standing in the sky outside the sword formation, observing the situation inside the formation. At this moment, Bai Long flew out from one of the palaces and came to Ji Tianqing's side. He glanced at the Black Mermaid King and the others outside the formation and sneered. He he. These Black Mermaids are indeed unreliable. They are greedy, cunning, cowardly, and stupid. Things have already come to this stage and he still dares to run away. What a stupid move. Do you think the Black Mermaid race will be fine if they don't join the battle? You are definitely going to be the scapegoat. Bai Long knew Ji Tianqing the best. However, Ji Tianqing's reaction was very calm. He was not angry at all. But Bai Long knew that his master was really angry. He was very disappointed in the Black Mermaid race. The Black Mermaid King's future was bleak. Yuan Qingkong took the opportunity to consume a divine pill to temporarily suppress his injuries. Looking at the empty sky with only Ji Tianqing and Bai Long left, he laughed proudly. Ha ha ha. There are so many twists and turns. Finally, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Little bastard, the ally that you relied on abandoned you at the crucial moment. How is it? You didn't expect this, did you? Are you very angry? Are you very desperate? He he, this is the reality. I am a nobleman bestowed by the God nation. You are nothing. The Black Mermaid King broke the agreement and betrayed me. Of course, he will betray you too. Now, what right do you have to be arrogant? Yuan Qingkong glared at Ji Tianqing viciously. He was as proud as he could be. Bai Long rolled his eyes at him and said with disdain, "Idiot." Yuan Qingkong was furious. He cursed, "Little bastard, it is useless even if you kneel down and beg for mercy. I will crush your bones and scatter your ashes. You will die in a worse way than your master." Bai Long asked with a smile, "How can a person like you become a city lord? May I ask, are you the illegitimate son of Princess Tianfeng? Or did you sell your ass to her?" Ah! Yuan Qingkong was so angry that he was about to explode. He could no longer hold back his murderous aura. He held two heavy swords and charged towards Bai Long. Damn insects, I will kill all of you. When Yuan Qingkong attacked, Yan Zong and the hundreds of city governor's guards also attacked without hesitation. Everyone unleashed their strongest power and used their ultimate killing moves. Hundreds of divine powers and secret arts shone with dazzling divine light. They turned into sword shadows that covered the sky and rained down on Ji Tianqing and the White Dragon. Swoosh! 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 Instantly, Black Shark Island was enveloped by the divine skill shadows. It was chaotic and blurry within the sword formation. Nothing could be seen clearly. Ji Tianqing also activated the heaven-destroying sword formation and unleashed its strongest power to kill Yuan Qingkong and the others. Swoosh! 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 Tens of thousands of five-colored giant swords carried dozens of divine Tao laws. They shattered the divine skill shadows and drowned everyone. Bam! 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 Deafening sounds of collisions and explosions rang out within the sword formation and shook the nine heavens. The loud noises spread for thousands of miles. The destructive shockwave wantonly shook Black Shark Island, causing the entire island to shake violently. The mountains and forests on the island were quickly reduced to ruins. Smoke and dust filled the sky. The dozen or so black stone palaces were also destroyed and collapsed one after another. Then, two more figures appeared out of thin air amidst the chaotic and violent five-colored divine light. They were two beautiful women. One was wearing a red dress and holding a divine spear. The other was wearing a white dress and holding a divine sword. The two of them fought side by side with Ji Tianqing and Bai Long. They quickly killed the city governor's guards. Chapter 2882. This battle was exceptionally intense. It lasted for a full 15 minutes before it finally came to an end. Although the difference in numbers between the two sides was huge. 4 people against 102 people, it was like throwing an egg against a rock. There was no chance of winning. At least, that was what Yuan Qingkong and the others thought. But the final result was beyond everyone's expectations. Ji Tianqing and the other 3 had won a complete victory. The close to 100 guards of the city lord's mansion were all killed. All of them were smashed to pieces, and their godheads were also shattered. Of course, Bai Long, Ji Ku, and Yun Yao contributed to this. But most importantly, it was the invincible power of the heaven-destroying sword formation. Under the suppression of the sword formation, the guards' movements were sluggish, and their combat strength was greatly reduced. Tens of thousands of giant swords shuttled back and forth, cutting them into pieces. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Bai Long, Yun Yao, and the others only assisted from the side. When they saw some guards who were lucky enough to survive, they went up and stabbed them twice with their spears, ending their lives. When the guards of the city lord's mansion were all dead, Yuan Qingkong and Yan Zong became generals without an army. Yan Zong was still fine. His strength was already at the 5th level of the Divine Lord realm, and he was in peak condition. He transformed into a dozen gray shadows and attacked Ji Tianqing and the others like ghosts. He executed all kinds of exquisite divine abilities and secret assassination techniques to perfection. Ji Tianqing even felt that Yan Zong's true strength was probably stronger than Yuan Qingkong's. So, he faced Yan Zong alone and fought him. Yan Zong used all his strength and attacked Ji Tianqing without holding back. But Ji Tianqing's divine power was more vigorous, and he had mastered more nomological powers and divine abilities. The two figures flickered between heaven and earth, teleporting left and right, dodging and attacking. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Until 100 breaths later, Yan Zong had used all his trump cards. He felt like he had exhausted all his abilities, and the momentum of his attacks weakened. At this time, Ji Tianqing was still using all kinds of strange techniques, and his attacks became more and more powerful. So, he gradually gained the upper hand and suppressed Yan Zong, making it difficult for him to parry or dodge. As time passed, Yan Zong's divine power was quickly drained away. He started to bleed profusely, and his situation became more and more dangerous. At this time, Yuan Qingkong was in an extremely sorry state. Not only was his hair disheveled and his body covered in blood, there were also numerous wounds on his body. The bloody hole between his chest and abdomen could no longer suppress the injury, and blood continued to spurt out. Under such circumstances, he should immediately leave the battle and find a place to heal his injuries while preserving his divine body. However, White Dragon, Yin Yao, and Ji Ku were attacking him with all their might, making it impossible for him to escape. Although the three of them were only at the 4th to 6th level of the Heavenly God stage, their strength was still at the 4th level of the Heavenly God stage. However, they were extraordinarily talented. Their true battle prowess was comparable to an 8th or 9th level celestial god. As for Yuan Qingkong, although he had 5th level Divine Lord Realm strength, he had his strength suppressed by the Heaven Exterminating Sword formation, restricting his movements. At the same time, he was severely wounded. His divine body was on the verge of collapse. His fighting prowess was extremely weak. The four of them were locked in a fierce battle, and no one could do anything to the other. Yin Yao and Ji Ku were not in a hurry. They were happy to stall for time. However, Yuan Qingkong did not dare to waste any time. His heart was burning with anxiety as he attacked with all his might. However, it was useless. Yin Yao and Ji Ku's battle experience was not inferior to his. Naturally, they were entangled in a battle of attrition. How could they let him have his way? In the blink of an eye, another 100 breaths passed. Yuan Qingkong could feel that the vitality of his divine body was rapidly disappearing, and it was about to disintegrate. He was so anxious that he was about to go crazy. Damn bastards, you forced me to do this. Yuan Qingkong's eyes were bloodshot. His body was burning with crimson flames as he roared at the top of his lungs. In the battle just now, he had used many defensive divine artifacts and talismans. He had used up all his life-saving trump cards. He could only use his last divine artifact to save his life and escape. Swoosh! A crimson divine whip that was more than 10 feet long appeared in front of him. He activated the divine blood in his body and poured it into the divine whip. Boom! Suddenly, the crimson divine whip expanded to 100 feet long, burning with divine flames that soared into the sky. Terrifying waves of fire and high temperature spread in all directions, dispersing the divine light in the sky. This flaming divine whip was like a majestic fire dragon. Without a doubt. This was a middle-grade monarch divine artifact, a priceless treasure. Its grade was superb and its power was terrifying. Yuan Qingkong was confident that with this flaming divine whip, he could break through Ji Tianqing's sword array and escape from Black Shark Island. Unfortunately, every time he activated this divine whip, he had to consume a large amount of divine blood and essence. Yuan Qingkong's severely injured body immediately turned into a shriveled corpse. His appearance was hideous. Even if he could escape from Black Shark Island, he would suffer heavy losses. He would need to recuperate for at least a few decades to recover. However, in order to escape, he did not care about that. Swoosh! With a flash of light, Yuan Qingkong entered the flaming divine whip and flew toward the 5-colored light shield not far away. The 5-colored giant swords covered the sky and the earth, bombarding the flaming divine whip. Bam! 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 In the blink of an eye, the flaming divine whip was hit by dozens of swords, producing deafening sounds. However, the divine whip remained unscathed despite the flames flying everywhere. Under Yuan Qingkong's control, the flaming divine whip twisted its body like a fire dragon, avoiding the countless giant swords and flying toward the edge of the sword array. 50 miles, 40 miles, 30 miles, suddenly, Yun Yao, Ji Ku, and Bai Long caught up. The three of them shouted coldly and waved their divine spears and swords to intercept the flaming divine whip. You are courting death. Yuan Qingkong's angry roar came from the flaming divine whip. At the same time, the flaming divine whip used divine dragon swings its tail. Divine flames shot up into the sky and swept toward the three of them. Bam! 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 A series of muffled sounds rang out. The three of them had their divine powers and secret techniques shattered. They were also hit by the flaming divine whip and flew backward while vomiting blood. There were no more obstacles in front of them. The flaming divine whip sped up. When it was 10 miles away from the five-colored light shield, the flaming divine whip straightened and stabbed forward like a flaming divine sword. Boom! A deafening sound rang out, shaking the heavens and the earth. A few cracks appeared on the five-colored light shield. It shook violently and flashed with divine light. The powerful rebounding force also sent the flaming divine whip flying back. After flying backward for 30 miles, Yuan Qingkong regained his composure and rushed toward the five-colored light shield again. He was confident that he could break through the light shield and escape from Black Shark Island. But at this moment, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared from the side. He held a pitch-black divine sword with both hands and slashed out a dazzling golden sword. World Slash! The 1,000-foot-long divine golden sword struck the flaming divine whip with a mysterious and terrifying power. Yuan Qingkong had no time to dodge. He didn't even see the person who attacked and the mysteries of the golden sword. In the next moment, the 1,000-foot-long flaming divine whip was sent flying and smashed into the ruins 100 miles away. The raging divine flames were extinguished. The flaming divine whip returned to its original state and fell into the ruins. Yuan Qingkong, who looked like a mummy, also fell to the ground and twitched in pain. Before you asked the Black Mermaid King to assassinate me, if you were this remorseful, I might have considered it. But now, it's too late. Ji Tianqing said indifferently. Yuan Qingkong's godhead froze for a second, then he roared furiously, "You lowly beast! Lowly worm! Aren't you afraid of retribution for being so cruel? If you force me into a corner, I will self-detonate and die with you." Indeed. Self-detonation was the last line of defense for one's dignity. It was the last trump card to kill one's enemy. Yuan Qingkong was forced to self-detonate, and he was already at his wit's end. Hearing the word self-detonate, Yan Zong's godhead trembled. The Black Mermaid King, the priest, and the protector's expressions changed drastically, and fear appeared in their eyes. However, Ji Tianqing's expression did not change, and he sneered coldly, "In my sword array, your life and death are in my hands. Even if you self-detonate, it's useless. If you don't believe me, you can try." His casual words contained unquestionable confidence and domineering aura. Yuan Qingkong was almost choked to death, and he roared furiously, "Ha ha ha! I have never seen someone like you who is not afraid of death. Good. Since you don't want to give me a way out, then let's die together." The tone of his laughter was very arrogant, but behind it was the despair and desolation of a dead heart. Yuan Qingkong did not hesitate anymore, and he immediately self-detonated. The dark red godhead emitted a fiery light that soared into the sky. A destructive aura rapidly brewed in the godhead, repeatedly compressing and expanding. In 2 breaths' time, Yuan Qingkong's godhead would self-detonate. At that time, not only would the sword array be destroyed, but the entire Black Mermaid Island would also be destroyed. Even the sea within a radius of 10,000 miles would be destroyed. Instantly, countless people's hearts clenched. Yan Zong was extremely anxious, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "No! City Lord, stop!" Outside the array, the Black Mermaid King, the Protector, and the priest's expressions changed drastically. The three of them panicked, and they flew away as fast as they could, ordering the Black Mermaid warriors to escape. "It's over. My Black Mermaid Island is destroyed. Get out of the way. What are you waiting for? Run." There was only one thought in everyone's mind. And that was to escape. The further they ran, the better. However, only a few people were the exception. Ji Tianqing, Bai Long, Yun Yao, and Ji Ku were still standing above the ruins, and they had no intention of running away. Looking at Yuan Qinkong's godhead, Ji Tianqing said calmly, "Your life is in my hands. You want to self-detonate? No way." As he spoke, he manipulated the power of the heaven-destroying sword array to suppress Yuan Qinkong. Instantly, the burning flames of the godhead were suppressed by 50%. It was even more difficult for Yuan Qinkong to self-detonate, and the time required to do so was doubled. He desperately resisted the pressure of the sword array, and he tried to self-detonate. However, Ji Tianqing took a step forward and teleported in front of him. "Keep!" Ji Tianqing shouted coldly. He suddenly stretched out his right hand and grabbed Yuan Qinkong's godhead. A pitch-black vortex appeared in his palm, and it instantly swallowed the godhead. Yuan Qinkong's godhead was in an inflated state, and it was extremely dangerous and could explode at any time. However, the energy contained in the godhead had to be compressed and inflated to the limit before it could explode with its strongest power. Unfortunately, Yuan Qinkong's godhead was mercilessly swallowed by the pitch-black vortex. The violent energy that he had spent so much effort to control was swallowed by the black vortex like a flood that had broken through a dam. The energy was quickly draining away, and it could not reach its peak. How could it explode? Naturally, Yuan Qinkong's self-detonation stopped abruptly. The godhead rolled violently in the vortex, and it shot out hundreds of five-colored rays of light, burning with divine flames. The heaven-mending orb crazily swallowed his energy. After purifying it, it transferred half of the energy to Ji Tianqing. Swoosh! Ji Tianqing's body lit up with five-colored divine light, and his aura rose rapidly. The surrounding sky also vibrated, and the force field became very unstable. Everyone knew that this was the sign of a rapid increase in power. Yun Yao, Ji Ku, and Bai Long all looked expectant. Yan Zong, who was not far away, was angry and fearful. His godhead was trembling. He did not know what was going on. However, he knew that Yuan Qinkong's self-detonation had been stopped. Moreover, if he fell into Ji Tianqing's hands, he would definitely die. A new month, please vote. Thank you. End of chapter. Chapter 2884. Yan Zong panicked. He knew that Yuan Qinkong was finished. Defeat Ji Tianqing and save Yuan Qinkong. This thought had once flashed through his mind. But he immediately rejected it. What a joke. He was already severely injured and on the verge of death. He only had a cracked godhead left. How could he fight Ji Tianqing? The most important thing now was to escape from this sword formation. After all, Ji Tianqing was glowing with divine light, and his aura was rising rapidly. He seemed to be dealing with Yuan Qinkong's godhead, or he seemed to be cultivating some secret technique to increase his strength quickly. In short, Ji Tianqing couldn't care less about him now. This was a great opportunity. Whoosh! Yan Zong's godhead flew across the sky and rushed toward the northwest corner of Black Shark Island. He had observed it before. The southern part of the sword formation was more powerful and defensive. The northern part was weaker. Especially the northwest corner, which was the weakest point of the formation. Success or failure depends on this. In the blink of an eye, Yan Zong's godhead flew to the northwest corner and was only 10 miles away from the five-colored light barrier. At this moment, He controlled Yuan Qingkong's 2 golden swords with his divine telekinesis and attacked the 5-colored light barrier with all his might. Kaboom! The 2 golden swords pierced the 5-colored light barrier like shooting stars, creating a deafening sound. Even though the 2 golden swords were sent flying back and fell into the ruins, they were still in a daze. 2 cracks appeared on the 5-colored light barrier and it trembled violently. The 2 cracks were only as thick as a strand of hair. Ordinary people couldn't pass through them. Yen Zong saw hope. His godhead ignited with crimson flames and turned into a crimson mist. Swoosh! The mist scattered into thousands of wisps and flew toward the 2 cracks. According to my estimation, these 2 cracks will heal in 3 breaths. 3 breaths is enough for me to escape from the sword formation. This thought flashed through Yen Zong's mind, and he was a little excited. Whoosh! Whoosh! Wisps of dark red mist passed through the 2 cracks and escaped from the heaven-destroying sword formation. In just 1 breath, hundreds of wisps of mist escaped from the sword formation. Yen Zong was overjoyed. He controlled the remaining 600 wisps of mist and sped them through the cracks. But at this moment, a mocking sneer suddenly came from behind him. The city lord is already dead. As a butler, how can you not be buried with him? It was Ji Tianqing's voice. Yen Zong felt as if he had been struck by lightning. After a moment of hesitation, he sped up without regard for anything else and entered the 2 cracks. However, Ji Tianqing sneered and pressed his hand down. The 2 cracks on the 5-colored light wall instantly healed. More than 100 strands of red mist were outside the formation, while more than 500 strands of red mist were inside the formation. There were also over 100 strands of red mist that were stuck in the 5-colored light barrier. Yen Zong was dumbfounded on the spot. It's actually, Kaka stuck. Caught between a rock and a hard place, it was extremely awkward. Ji Tianqing looked at the red mist with a smile and slowly extended his left hand. A pitch-black vortex appeared in his palm, emitting a terrifying devouring power. Shwa! The invisible devouring storm enveloped more than 600 streaks of red mist and devoured them in the blink of an eye. Yen Zong was in extreme despair. He could only withdraw his divine ability and return to his original form. With a flash of red light, he turned back into a dark red godhead. However, the godhead's power was even weaker, and there were a few more cracks. Surrounded by the pitch-black vortex, the godhead struggled with all its might, trying to escape. However, the godhead's power leaked out crazily and was mercilessly devoured by the vortex. Not only could Yen Zong not escape, but he also sank deeper and deeper. The more he struggled, the faster his power leaked out. However, if he did not struggle, he would be waiting for his death and be devoured by the vortex bit by bit. In short, he would die either way. At this moment, Yen Zong suddenly understood. It turned out that Ji Tianqing had used this move to forcefully interrupt Yuan Qingkong's self-destruction. It was a heaven-defying and unbelievable divine ability. Thinking of this, Yen Zong's consciousness became weaker and weaker. Soon, he fell into eternal darkness. On the sea 1,000 kilometers away from Black Shark Island. The Black Shark King, Guardian, and Priest were desperately flying high in the sky. Seeing that Yuan Qingkong was about to detonate his godhead, they did not care about anything else and fled together, trying to get as far away from Black Shark Island as possible. In just a few breaths' time, they had already run 1,000 kilometers away. As for the hundreds of Black Shark warriors, they had left them far behind and were desperately running for their lives. At this moment, the Black Shark King sensed that something was wrong. He suddenly stopped and shouted coldly, "Stop! Stop running!" The Guardian and Priest ran for another few dozen kilometers before stopping. They turned to look at the Black Shark King. The Black Shark King did not look at them. He had already turned around and stared at Black Shark Island. There's no need to run. Yuan Qingkong's self-destruction failed. The Black Shark King observed for a moment and concluded. The guardian and priest looked at each other and exclaimed in disbelief, could it be that Yuan Qingkong was afraid of death and cancelled his self-destruction midway? That's not right. He was already in such a state. It was impossible for him to cancel it even if he wanted to. The Black Shark King used his divine senses to check the situation on the island and said, no, Yuan Qingkong did not cancel his self-destruction. He was suppressed by that kid. What? How is this possible? The guardian and priest were even more shocked. Their mouths were wide open and their expressions were even more interesting. Yuan Qingkong is a 5th-level divine monarch. To be able to forcefully interrupt his self-destruction, it must be a high-level divine monarch. Could it be that kid is a high-level divine monarch? This is impossible. The two of them could not accept this result. The Black Shark King had the same thought. His eyes and expression were filled with shock. It's not just Yuan Qingkong. That housekeeper was also suppressed by that kid. When he said this, the Black Shark King's voice was trembling. Not only was he shocked, but he was also a little flustered. The guardian and priest's hearts were in turmoil again. It was as though they were petrified. After a long while, the two of them took in a breath of cold air and exclaimed in disbelief. My king, you must have seen wrongly. Stopping Yuan Qingkong's self-destruction with one hand and suppressing the housekeeper with the other. That kid actually has such a terrifying technique. Who exactly is he? Even a 7th-level divine monarch would not be able to do that. Yes. He must be an 8th-level divine monarch. The Black Shark King kept silent and his gaze was complicated. After keeping silent for a while, he saw that the guardian and priest had not regained their senses. He then said, it's no longer important what realm he is in. Anyway, if he wants to kill us and annihilate the Black Shark race, it will be as easy as flipping his palm. Previously, when we ran away, we had already angered him. He must be very disappointed in us. We have to think of a way to salvage the situation. Previously, Yan Zong had advised him not to interfere. He thought that if he did not participate in the battle, Yuan Qingkong would not die and he would not offend the Blood Flame Divine Kingdom. Moreover, he could take the Dragon Crocodile Pearl and resources worth 10 billion for himself. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, the situation in front of him was the complete opposite. The Black Shark King was really flustered. Chapter 2885. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, we can't avoid it. The Black Mermaid King was anxious, but he could only accept his fate. After all, the Black Mermaid tribe was here. He couldn't possibly abandon his 20,000 people and escape with the guardians and priests, right? It was not worth it for the 100 poison crocodile dragon pearl and the resources that were worth 10 billion. Therefore, after the Black Mermaid King calmed himself down, he brought everyone back to the Black Mermaid Island. Swoosh! Soon, everyone returned to the Black Mermaid Island. The battle had already ended. Ji Tianqing's sky-vanquishing sword formation had also been removed. The Black Mermaid Island still existed, but it had become a wasteland. The mountains, forests, and palaces on the island had all been leveled. The ground was filled with deep pits and ravines, and small hills of earth and rocks could be seen everywhere. Ji Tianqing was standing in the sky with his palms clasped together and his eyes closed as he circulated his energy. His body was still shining with rainbow divine light and emitting powerful divine power waves. The white dragon was not idle either. He was cleaning up the battlefield. He searched the entire Black Mermaid Island and found a few interspatial rings, a few monarch-grade divine artifacts, and many fragments of godheads. As for Yun Yao and Ji Ku, they had already returned to the 9 Heavens 10 Absolutes Tower to cultivate in seclusion. Their current strength was much weaker than Ji Tianqing's. If they followed Ji Tianqing outside, they would definitely be delayed. Therefore, they focused on cultivating and increasing their strength as soon as possible. They would only show themselves at crucial moments. Ji Tianqing had just returned to the divine realm and had not gained a firm foothold yet. Of course, the wretched development stage was mainly for rapid development. Hundreds of black mermaid warriors stopped in the sky 100 miles away and waited quietly. The Black Mermaid King brought the guardians and priests to Ji Tianqing. Seeing that Ji Tianqing still had his eyes closed, the three of them remained silent and waited patiently. 15 minutes later, Ji Tianqing dealt with Yuan Qingkong in Yan Zong's godheads. He would first seal it in a heaven-mending pearl, and then properly refine it when he had the time. Not to mention anything else, just the divine Tao laws condensed within the two godheads were enough for Ji Tianqing to cultivate for a very long time. He finally opened his eyes. Shwa! A wisp of sacred golden light flashed through his eyes, as if it was tearing the sky apart. The Black Mermaid King and the other two were the closest. They felt their cheeks tighten as if they had been slashed by a sword light. As such, the three of them lowered their posture even more. Congratulations, young Master Tianqing. You have taken your revenge and killed Yuan Qingkong and Yan Zong. From now on, the City Lord's mansion will exist in name only. In the vicinity of Qingshan City, no one will be able to contend with young Master Tianqing. The Black Shark King was all smiles as he cupped his fists at Ji Tianqing to congratulate him. His smile was very sincere and his emotions were very emotional. It was impossible to tell that he had just betrayed Ji Tianqing. The guardian and high priest also followed suit and bowed to Ji Tianqing to congratulate him. Ji Tianqing looked at the Black Shark King expressionlessly and said in a low voice, "Take them out." The Black Shark King was stunned and looked a little awkward. He did not expect Ji Tianqing to not talk nonsense with him and go straight to the point. Of course, he knew what Ji Tianqing was talking about. He wanted to act dumb, but he did not dare to. He wanted to hand over his treasures and resources, but he could not bear to. He was very conflicted. At this moment, the white dragon had finished cleaning up the battlefield and flew back to Ji Tianqing. Seeing the Black Shark King's conflicted face, he said in a mocking tone, "What's wrong, Black Shark King? Constipated?" The Black Shark King smiled embarrassedly and obediently took out a black thumb ring and a jade ring. "Young Master Tianqing, these are the resources and treasures that Yuan Qingkong brought. I have counted them just now. There are a total of 54,000 pearls, 540 million god stones, and 54,000 sets of heaven god equipment. Now, I will return them to you. Please accept them." After he finished speaking, the Black Shark King held the thumb ring and the jade ring and handed it to Ji Tianqing respectfully. Ji Tianqing did not look at the thumb ring and the jade ring. He looked at the Black Shark King indifferently and said, "Not enough." The Black Shark King's smile froze. He thought to himself, "This guy is not going to leave me any benefits at all. Too overbearing. After all, I have helped you and even cooperated with you to put on an act." Although he said that, he still took out an interspatial ring and handed it to Ji Tianqing. "Young Master Tianqing, this is the 20% deposit that Yuan Qingkong gave me. It is all in the ring. 2 rings and a thumb ring. A total of 600 million god stones, 60,000 pearls, and 60,000 sets of heaven god equipment. These were all Yuan Qingkong's assets." Ji Tianqing looked at the Black Shark King expressionlessly. His eyes became colder and colder. The Black Shark King felt guilty, but he could only force himself to smile awkwardly. "Young Master Tianqing, everything is here now." Bai Long could not help but shake his head and chuckle. "Fish die for wealth, and birds die for food. Black Shark King, you only have one chance. If you insist on acting dumb, don't blame my master for showing you his culinary skills." The Black Shark King was stunned. He asked confusedly, "What culinary skills?" Bai Long raised his right hand and clenched his 5 fingers. Slicing fish, deboning fish, steaming, boiling, and braising. After he finished speaking, he looked at the Black Shark King seriously. How do you want to die? Oh no. What kind of flavor do you want? The Black Shark King understood and could not help but shrink his neck. He felt humiliated and angry. However, he did not dare to act up and could only face reality. He took out the 100 poison crocodile dragon pearl from his interspatial ring and handed it to Ji Tianqing with trembling hands. Only the heavens knew that when he gave away this dragon pearl, his heart was bleeding. He had already put a treasure in his pocket, but now he had to give it away. That feeling was simply, swoosh. Ji Tianqing waved his sleeves and kept the 2 rings, the thumb ring, and the 100 poison crocodile dragon pearl into his interspatial ring. He stared at the Black Shark King with a sharp gaze and said in a dignified tone, Black Shark King, from today onwards, you are on your own. If you continue to stir up trouble and target the Mystic Light Island and the Qi family, you know the consequences. After saying this, Ji Tianqing turned and left, flying south with Bai Long. The Black Shark King was embarrassed and angry. He gritted his teeth and suppressed his anger as he watched Ji Tianqing leave. After a long while, when Ji Tianqing and Bai Long disappeared into the horizon, the Black Shark King could not help but roar. Ah! That damned bastard, he really didn't leave any benefits for this prince. Even if I have wronged you, I have helped you so much. How can you not be grateful at all? How dare you threaten me? Don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, I will make you regret being born. The guardian and high priest looked at each other with a complicated expression. After the Black Shark King calmed down, the 2 of them started to persuade him. My king, we can't beat him, and we can't fight him either. Please don't be rash. Yes, more than half of our elite experts and warriors are dead or injured. We might not be able to recover in the next 30 years. Please do not provoke him again. Otherwise, we will all be finished. The Black Shark King turned and glared at the 2 of them. He roared, of course I know. Do I need you to remind me? Can't I vent my frustrations a little? End of chapter. Chapter 2886. A few hours later. Ji Tianqing and Bai Long returned to Mystic Light Island. When they were still 1,000 miles away from Mystic Light Island, they saw that the island's protective formation was in operation. It was glowing with colorful divine light. The monarch-grade divine formation with a radius of 500 miles was personally set up by Ji Tianqing. Mystic Light Island was in a defensive posture. Not only was the protective formation activated, but there were also many guards patrolling the island. When Ji Tianqing and Bai Long approached, the guards were very alert and immediately sounded the alarm. Swoosh! Swoosh! A few moments later, dozens of Qi family guards flew over from all directions, ready for battle. Bai Long was amused when he saw this. He said in a playful tone, "Isn't Qi Huangji putting on a show? Everything is settled. Why is he still putting on an act?" Ji Tianqing chuckled. Maybe it's to make it more realistic so that the news won't be leaked. If I'm not wrong, the Qi family's core members probably haven't come up with a plan yet. His tone was mocking and full of sarcasm. Bai Long nodded. Later, I'll have a good talk with Qi Huangji about this. It's time for him to clean up the spies in his family. At this moment, Ji Tianqing casually shot out a ray of divine light and activated the island's protective formation. He brought Bai Long through the light screen and flew into Mystic Light Island. Dozens of guards of the Qi family held swords and sabers as they rushed over murderously. When the captain of the guards saw Ji Tianqing's face clearly, he immediately stopped his charge and shouted loudly, "Don't worry, Ji Tianqing. Stop! Stop! It's one of us. Reverend Tianqing is back. The dozens of guards of the Qi family were all stunned on the spot with strange expressions on their faces, revealing astonished expressions. Everyone stared at Ji Tianqing and muttered. "This is really Reverend Tianqing. Wasn't Reverend Tianqing injured by the Black Mermaid King and captured to the Black Mermaid tribe?" "That's right. Revered Elder Tianqing is being held captive in the Black Mermaid tribe. He's still waiting for young master to save him." Consecrated Tianqing actually came back unscathed. "What's going on?" Many of the guards were a little confused, unable to make sense of the situation. They were filled with shock and doubt, but their status was too low, so they didn't dare to stop Ji Tianqing and ask him about it. Shua! While everyone was still in a daze, Ji Tianqing flew over their heads and headed straight for the profound light cave in the middle of the island. Arriving above the profound light cave, he released his divine sense and spread it out. Soon, he discovered it with his divine sense. Near the entrance of the mine, there was a magnificent palace. Qi Huanji, 2 deacons, and more than 30 core members of the Qi family were still discussing countermeasures in the great meeting hall. How can you ruin the family's foundation for a consecrator? You should report such a big matter to the family head and let him decide. On the surface, this person was persuading Qi Huanji for the sake of the Qi family's foundation. However, his tone was arrogant and unruly, and he was very impudent to Qi Huanji. The meaning of his words was that what was the big deal about a consecrator dying? The Qi family had 10 billion yuan, so they could find another one in the future. Qi Huanji was a useless piece of trash and didn't have the ability to deal with this matter. Don't make a fuss. Go find your father and let him decide. Qi Huanji was immediately enraged. He glared at the middle-aged steward and shouted angrily, "Qin Feng! How dare you insult this young master?" The middle-aged steward named Qin Feng said with a smile, "Young master, please calm down. I am also thinking of the Qi family's foundation. I am just speaking the truth. How is that an insult?" The other 4 stewards also nodded in agreement and tried to persuade him. "Young master, please calm down. Steward Qin is also working hard for the family and exhausting his mind, that's right. Steward Qin can't bear to see you unable to sleep and eat well, so he helped you come up with a plan. He has good intentions. Steward Qin is not the only one who cares about the family. All of us are the same. We can't bear to see you make a mistake and cause a disaster. Young master, please calm down and think about it carefully." Seeing this scene, Qi Huanji pointed at them and laughed in anger. "Good. Very good. Your wings have hardened, right?" The 2 stewards also felt that the 5 stewards were acting strangely, so they scolded, "The 5 of you, why aren't you apologizing to the young master? As servants, how can you be qualified to comment on the young master's right and wrong? Why aren't you apologizing and getting out of the hall?" The 5 stewards naturally refused to apologize. They were unconvinced and wanted to argue a little more. At this moment, a white figure appeared out of thin air in the hall and stepped on Steward Qin's head. End of chapter. Chapter 2887. Die, you little clown. A cold and majestic roar suddenly exploded in the main hall. What followed was a supreme divine power that suppressed the heavens and the earth, invisibly sealing the entire main hall. Bam! There was a muffled explosion. Before Steward Qin could react, he was stepped on by the white figure and fell to the ground with a plop. His head instantly exploded like a watermelon that fell from a high place. Pieces of flesh and blood splattered all over the faces of the surrounding 4 people. The thick smell of blood immediately spread in the main hall. The sudden turn of events left everyone dumbstruck. There was dead silence in the main hall. One could hear a pin drop. Those standing in the main hall, those who had not left in time, and those beside Steward Qin all stared at the white figure with their mouths agape. When they saw the newcomer's face clearly, everyone was filled with shock. Their eyes were filled with fear and astonishment. The two deacons were also stunned. Their eyes were wide open, and they looked as if they had seen a ghost. Only Qi Huangji, who was at the head of the table, was stunned for a moment before regaining his senses. He stared at the white-robed youth with burning eyes and revealed a look of surprise. He laughed loudly and said, "Ha ha ha. Brother Tianqing, you're finally back. You're just in time." There was no doubt. The white-robed youth who appeared out of thin air and stepped on Steward Qin was Ji Tianqing. Qi Huangji's loud laughter awakened everyone in the main hall. The two deacons and the many backbones only then regained their senses and immediately burst into a series of exclamations. "Oh my God! It's actually revered Elder Tianqing. Isn't he, imprisoned in the Black Mermaid tribe?" Revered Elder Tianqing was clearly injured by the Black Mermaid King and was even imprisoned. How is it possible? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? He actually came back unscathed. Who can tell me what's going on? At this moment, everyone felt that their brains had short-circuited and were completely unable to comprehend the situation. No matter how astute a person was, he was still dumbfounded and confused. This was too strange. Only Qi Huangji knew the inside story and was in an extremely good mood. He flew towards Ji Tianqing and opened his arms as if he wanted to hug him. However, just as he pounced in front of Ji Tianqing, the white dragon appeared. "Hey! Young master, please control yourself." As he spoke, Bai Long grabbed Qi Huangji. Unable to move, Qi Huangji asked in confusion, "White dragon, why haven't I heard of this before? Did you make it up yourself?" "That's not important." Bai Long waved his hand and pointed at Steward Qin's corpse. "Let's clean up the house first." Meanwhile, a divine deity covered in cracks flew out from Steward Qin's corpse and fled to the entrance of the main hall as fast as lightning. With a wave of his sleeve, Ji Tianqing grabbed the godhead and held it in his hand. No matter how hard Steward Qin struggled, he was unable to move. Ji Tianqing looked sharply at the other four stewards and said in a dignified tone, "Who are you? Why did he sneak into the Qi clan? What schemes did he have? Tell me the truth." The four stewards were enveloped by his divine aura and immediately trembled in fear. Their legs gave way and they knelt on the ground. "Master, please spare my life. This lowly one knows his mistake. Master, this lowly one has been wronged. Master, please forgive this lowly one. This lowly one knows his mistake and will definitely turn over a new leaf." The four stewards, who had been arrogant just a moment ago, were now like stray dogs, terrified and uneasy. The four of them knelt on the ground and begged for mercy or cried out their grievances. There was nothing they could do. The master in front of them was too valiant and ruthless. They dared to fool and mock Qi Huangji, but they did not dare to play tricks in front of Ji Tianqing. After all, this master killed people like killing chickens and did not ask whether they were right or wrong. Who dared to be arrogant? Who dared to talk back? I guarantee that you will lie down on the ground and be beheaded. Seeing this scene, Qi Huangji chuckled, feeling extremely satisfied. Ha! Weren't the four of you arrogant dogs pointing fingers at me just now? Qi Huangji walked in front of the four stewards and sneered arrogantly. Master Tianqing is so wise and powerful. How could he be captured by the Black Mermaid King? Do you think that I've lost my mind and accomplished nothing without the help of Consecrator Tianqing? Ha ha ha. This is the scheme of Master Tianqing and I. We worked together to put on a show. I just played a little trick, and all of you revealed your true colors. You want to fight with me with just this bit of ability? Naive. Qi Huangji's words instantly caused an uproar in the main hall. The two stewards and the many backbones were enlightened. Everyone was shocked and exclaimed in disbelief. They started to whisper to each other. "Oh my God! So this matter was young master's scheme from the beginning? Too amazing. Young master actually deceived everyone. We all believed him. In that case, not only were we deceived, but the Yuan city lord was also fooled. What an exciting show. Young master's strategy methods have already surpassed his master. Master Tianqing is so powerful. Young master is wise and unparalleled in his schemes. Looking at everyone's shocked expressions and listening to their exclamations and praises, Qi Huangji was overjoyed. He felt as if he was floating. Humph. You are really short-sighted. Do you really think that I am a useless person? I used to hide my abilities and deliberately pretended to be a useless person. I only revealed my intelligence and wisdom at the crucial moment and amazed the world. Which of the young masters of the major families in Green Mountain City can be compared to me? I am the smartest. Qi Huangji improvised and talked non-stop, blowing his own trumpet. Bai Long could not stand it anymore. He secretly tugged at Qi Huangji's sleeve and sent a voice transmission. Ahem. You should take it easy. Don't brag too much. Otherwise, you will be exposed. Qi Huangji blinked at him and sent a voice transmission. This is the best opportunity for me to establish my prestige and change everyone's opinion. If I miss this opportunity, it will be very difficult in the future. Aren't I very smart? Bai Long nodded and said with a strange smile, yes, you are too wise. Qi Huangji looked at him suspiciously and muttered, why do I feel like you are scolding me? At this moment, Ji Tianqing interrupted their conversation. Huangji, I will leave these 4 stewards to you. No matter what method you use, find out everything about them. Qi Huangji quickly nodded and ordered the 2 deacons, tie these 4 bastards up and throw them into the underground prison. I will interrogate them personally. The 2 deacons tied up the 4 stewards and sealed their divine powers and divine senses. They were about to bring them down. Ji Tianqing waved the divinity in his hand and said to the 4 stewards, Qin Feng's divinity is here. As long as I search his divine soul and memory, all your secrets will be exposed. So, if you confess your crimes honestly, you will suffer less. Chapter 2888. There was no need for Ji Tianqing to deal with such a trivial matter. He believed that Qi Huangji already knew the answer and would be able to solve it soon. After leaving the meeting hall, he entered a secret chamber alone and prepared to cultivate. White Dragon stayed by Qi Huangji's side to help him plan and interrogate him. After all, White Dragon was the best at torture. In a dark secret chamber, the Jiutian 10 Absolutes Tower floated in the air. Ji Tianqing entered the 6th floor of the tower and cultivated in the distorted spacetime. He made hand seals and secretly activated the heaven-mending orb. Yuan Qingkong and Yen Zong's godheads were sealed in the heaven-mending orb. Although 30% of their divine power had been devoured, their divine souls, memories, and laws still existed. Ji Tianqing decided to devour Yuan Qingkong and Yen Zong's divine souls and memories first. Yuan Qingkong was dead, and the city lord's mansion existed in name only. However, Princess Tianfeng was behind Yuan Qingkong. Ji Tianqing needed to know more secrets so that he could deal with Princess Tianfeng's revenge in the future. In addition, Yen Zong was Yuan Qingkong's confidant and had always been mysterious and low-key. It was necessary to know more about him. As time passed, Ji Tianqing used the soul-searching divine power to quickly absorb the memories in the 2 godheads. Vast amounts of information flowed into his divine soul and he memorized them. Naturally, he also learned many secrets about Yen Zong and Yuan Qingkong. There were many crucial pieces of information. For example, the method to open the city lord's mansion's treasure vault. There were more than 50 billion worth of resources stored inside. Princess Tianfeng was a 6th-level divine lord and was about to break through to the 7th level to become an upper-level divine lord. Yan Zong came from the distant Sangshan Empire and was an abandoned disciple of the Shadow Sect. He betrayed the Shadow Sect and crossed over 1 billion miles to hide in the remote Bloodflame Divine Kingdom. He lived a mysterious and low-key life. The Shadow Sect was one of the top 10 superpowers in the Sangshan Empire and had a half-step Divine King. In addition, Yan Zong had mastered the 3 ultimate techniques of the Shadow Sect and mastered 3 special divine powers. Half a day later, Yuan Qingkong and Yan Zong's divine souls and memories were devoured by Ji Tianqing. He began to refine the 2 godheads, absorbing the god force within them and stripping them of their godheads. What surprised him was that Yuan Qingkong's godhead had actually condensed 27 Dao laws. Yama Zong's godhead had condensed 30 laws. Compared to ordinary middle-level divine lords, these 2 people were considered to have deep foundations and had hopes of advancing to high-level divine lords. Fortunately, they did not grasp a secret technique that overlaps the laws. Otherwise, their combat prowess would be even stronger. It would be very difficult for me to kill the 2 of them. Ji Tianqing secretly rejoiced and started to devour their divine Dao laws. These 2 people had condensed a total of 57 laws. Excluding the laws that Ji Tianqing already possessed and the duplicate laws, there were still 20 laws left. Ji Tianqing stripped and condensed them one by one. Time passed quickly. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, unknowingly, a month had passed. Ji Tianqing took those 20 laws and refined them into his godhead. Not long ago, he killed Lu Jiuchong and Bloodsword Sect's 4th elder. He also killed many Bloodsword Sect disciples and Lu family disciples. Those 600 over godhead fragments had long been devoured and refined by him. He had condensed 60 laws in his godhead. Now, adding these 20 laws, the divine Dao laws that he possessed reached as many as 80. This number was very terrifying. Normally, only high-level divine lords could grasp so many laws. At the same time, the 2 godheads were also completely devoured by the heaven-mending bead. Boundless god force also became Ji Tianqing's strength. He ended cultivation and discovered to his astonishment that he actually broke through the limit and reached first-level divine lord realm. From now on, he was a low-level divine lord. I thought that there would be a bottleneck when breaking through to Divine Lord, needing to accumulate for a very long time before successfully breaking through. Didn't expect that without any bottlenecks or setbacks, success came naturally just like that. Ji Tianqing muttered a few sentences, feeling deeply gratified. If it were any other celestial deity, they would encounter a bottleneck when breaking through to Divine Lord realm. At least several hundred years, at most several thousand years of accumulation before being able to smoothly advance. But he was an anomaly. After he reached peak celestial deity, his strength actually strengthened by 99 times. Surveying the world, who else had a deeper foundation than him? Therefore, when he devoured the divine sparks of 2 middle-level divine lords and condensed 60 laws, he naturally broke through. Reaching first-level divine lord realm, he entered a brand new realm. Compared to celestial deity realm, divine lord realm was even more profound and unfathomable, possessing vast magical powers. Every breath, every action contained laws and divine power, being commanded freely. With a raise of the hand, one could control heaven and earth, communicate with the stars beyond the heavens, and control all kinds of divine power. Possessing all kinds of inconceivable divine abilities. The most basic change was that lifespan also reached 200,000 years from 100,000 years. Even though Ji Tianqing successfully broke through to first-level Divine Lord, he was not in a hurry to leave in a hurry. However, he was not in a hurry to leave the Divine Pagoda. He still needed to cultivate for a period of time to strengthen his foundation of the Divine Path. He took out that 100 poison crocodile dragon bead from his spatial ring again and observed it carefully. The fist-sized divine bead gave off a dazzling 5-colored light, releasing mysterious power undulations. Ji Tianqing utilized the divine pupil mystic art and observed carefully. Before long, he saw through the clues. This 100 poison crocodile dragon bead should be the ancient crocodile dragon's dragon bead. To that ancient crocodile dragon, this was an important item second only to the godhead. Inside, not only did it contain the ancient crocodile dragon's powerful divine power. There were also over 100 kinds of horrifying highly toxic poisons. Any kind of highly toxic power could poison and kill deities below the level of High Divine Lord. Of course. The 100 poison crocodile dragon bead could only unleash such power when it was in the ancient crocodile dragon's body at its prime. Now, no idea how many tens of thousands of years had passed. The 100 poison crocodile dragon bead's power was mostly lost. The power of the 100 kinds of highly toxic poisons was also greatly reduced. But even so, Ji Tianqing also believed that those highly toxic poisons could threaten the lives of middle-level divine lords. He learned from Yuan Qingkong's divine soul memories that as early as over 100 years ago, Yuan Qingkong obtained this 100 poison crocodile dragon bead. It was just a pity that Yuan Qingkong could not do anything to those highly toxic poisons and could not refine them. That feeling was like a dog biting a hedgehog, unable to bite down. Yuan Qingkong planned to borrow the power of the crocodile dragon bead when he reached peak 6th level divine lord and assailed 7th level divine lord. But now, it all benefited Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing held the 100 poison crocodile dragon bead in his hand and tried to release divine power to refine it. However, his divine power had just entered the crocodile dragon bead when it was corroded and dissipated by the highly toxic poisons. So much so that those highly toxic poisons even spread out and corroded his divine power and divine body. Ji Tianqing hurriedly withdrew his divine power and muttered to himself, "No wonder Yuan Qingkong is helpless. This highly toxic power is not what he can touch at all. But I don't have to worry." The corners of his mouth curled into a hint of a smile. Urging the power of the heaven-mending pearl, he cast the devouring divine ability and began to devour the crocodile dragon bead. End of this chapter. Chapter 2889. Even though the 100 poisons crocodile dragon pearl contained potent poison. The number was as many as 100 types, the power incomparably terrifying. Only high-ranking divine lords had the qualifications and ability to directly refine it. But to the heaven-mending pearl, these were all just pure power. Going through the heaven-mending pearl's devouring and purification, the 100 types of potent poisons all became docile, merging into Ji Tianqing's body unceasingly. As for the divine power contained in the crocodile dragon pearl, it was devoured by the heaven-mending pearl. Very soon, 5 days' time passed. The 100 poisons crocodile dragon pearl disappeared. The 100 types of potent poisons were all refined by Ji Tianqing. He grasped the 100 poisons and could display and use them smoothly and freely. Fusing them in some divine abilities and mystic arts, it would even have a powerful effect that was unexpected. But he was not satisfied with this. He continued cultivating again, dividing those 100 types of potent poisons into 5 major categories. The first category of potent poisons had berserk power and could instantly take lives. The second category of potent poisons possessed super corrosive power. Regardless of whether it was rocks, steel, or divine weapons and armors, it could all corrode them into ashes. The third category of potent poisons specialized in corroding flesh and blood life. The fourth category of potent poisons targeted the divine soul specifically. As for the fifth category of potent poisons, the attributes were more chaotic. Some were subtle, requiring a very long time before they could manifest power. Some possessed terrifying infectivity, often able to last for several tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, exterminating all life. Ji Tianqing fused the power of these 5 great categories of potent poisons, condensing into one law after another. 3 days later, the berserk potent poison law condensed successfully. 6 days later, the corrosive potent poison law condensed and took form. 9 days later, the blood transforming potent poison law was mastered. 12 days later, the soul-extinguishing potent poison law was mastered successfully. 15 days later, the last mystic poison law was mastered. At this point, Ji Tianqing grasped 85 kinds of divine Tao laws. Although his strength realm was still first-level divine lord realm, his true combat strength already reached an extremely terrifying level. He revolved his skill and recuperated for another 2 days before ending closed seclusion cultivation and leaving the divine tower. Swoosh! A light flashed. Ji Tianqing returned to the secret chamber. He put away the 9 heavens 10 absolute pagoda, opened the secret chamber's door, and walked out. I was in closed seclusion for 50 days in the divine tower, only 1 day has passed in the outside world. Qi Huangji should have finished cleaning up the household already, right? With this thought in mind, Ji Tianqing walked towards the great council hall. When he entered the meeting hall, he saw a group of Qi family guards escorting 3 stewards out. The 3 stewards were all in ragged clothes and covered in blood. They looked dispirited and weak. Evidently, the 3 of them had all been tortured miserably. In the great council hall, Qi Huangji sat at the head of the table, with the white dragon standing beside him. More than 20 stewards and 2 deacons were standing in the middle of the hall, looking cautious and fearful. The air was still filled with the thick smell of blood. In the middle of the hall, there was a corpse lying on the ground. Fresh blood was flowing out of the corpse. It was obvious that the corpse had just been executed. Seeing Ji Tianqing appear, Qi Huangji nodded slightly and greeted him. "Brother Tianqing, the situation has been investigated." Qi Huangji planned to report the investigation to Ji Tianqing face to face. Ji Tianqing glanced at the people in the hall and waved his hand. "You may leave first. You have all seen what happened today with your own eyes. Take this as a warning. In the future, if anyone dares to make the same mistake, they will suffer the same fate." The 2 deacons and 20 stewards nodded in unison. Then, they bowed and left the hall as if relieved of a heavy burden. All along, everyone had thought that Qi Huangji had a good temper. Although he was a bit of a profligate, he was considered gentle and not scheming. But this time, they had witnessed Qi Huangji's shrewdness and methods. In the great council hall, they had witnessed Qi Huangji killing people with a sword and dealing with spies. Everyone's impression of him had been overturned. Only then did they realize that he had a ruthless and decisive side. The hour just now had been very torturous for everyone. Everyone was anxious and uneasy, and their hearts were in turmoil. Fortunately, Ji Tianqing arrived in time and waved his hand to dismiss them. Only then did they feel relieved. Naturally, they left as quickly as possible. After everyone had left, only Ji Tianqing and Bai Long were left in the hall. Qi Huangji then said, "Brother Tianqing, with Bai Long's help, I've found out the truth. Qin Feng and Ming Yang were both spies groomed by the city lord's mansion. They were planted in the Qi mansion 30 years ago. They were the city lord's mansion spies and stole a lot of the Qi family's secrets. You've already killed Qin Feng, and I've punished Ming Yang in public as punishment. After today's incident, many of the core members are intimidated and have lingering fears. I believe that for a long time, they won't dare to act rashly." Then, Qi Huangji smiled and cupped his hands in salute. "This time, it's all thanks to you that I have the chance to establish my prestige." Ji Tianqing nodded nonchalantly and asked, "When I came in just now, I saw the 3 stewards being escorted out. What happened to them?" Qi Huangji hurriedly explained, "Those 3 stewards weren't spies from other factions. It's just that they took bribes and were roped in by Qin Feng and Ming Yang. That's why they wallowed in the mire. Although they didn't know Qin Feng's identity, they didn't betray or plot to destroy the Qi family. But they were blinded by greed and almost committed a grave mistake. I demoted them, punished them with 300 lashes, and sent them to the mine to work for 10 years as punishment." Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and chuckled. Speaking of which, they haven't committed a grave mistake, but you punished them so harshly. Aren't you afraid that they'll harbor resentment and revolt or betray the Qi family? Qi Huangji said confidently, I want to use this opportunity to establish my prestige. Of course, I have to punish them severely. They can only blame themselves for not having eyes and bumping into me. They deserve to be punished. Besides, now that the city lord's mansion has been destroyed, the Qi family is the strongest faction in Qingshan City. No matter how much resentment those three fellows have, they won't dare to betray the Qi family. After leaving the Qi family, they're nothing. Who else can they rely on? Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said, all right, I'll leave these internal affairs to you. Soon, I might have to leave Qingshan City. From now on, the Qi family's foundation will depend on you to protect it. Hearing this news, Qi Huangji's body trembled and revealed a reluctant expression. It can't be. We've worked so hard for so long and finally achieved a great victory. We're about to usher in our most glorious moment. Aren't you going to stay for a while longer? Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Ji Tianqing said calmly, the city lord's mansion exists in name only, and the Lu family has become an empty shell. Now, the Qi family is the strongest in Qingshan City, and no other faction can contend against them. If I'm not wrong, Qingshan City will soon fall into the Qi family's control. It looks like the situation is going well. But don't forget, we still have two more powerful enemies. Princess Tianfeng and Master Blood Sword. Chapter 2890. Hearing Ji Tianqing's words, Qi Huangji fell silent. He frowned and asked, I understand, but why do you want to leave Green Mountain City? I know you're not afraid of trouble. Neither would he be afraid of Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect, abandoning the Qi clan and fleeing alone. If we work together, won't we have a better chance of winning? Ji Tianqing patted him on the shoulder and shook his head with a smile. You can't be blindly optimistic. You have to accept reality. Even if I work with the Qi family, we may not be able to defeat Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect. Instead, we'll drag the Qi family into a quagmire. Qi Huangji immediately understood his intentions. His heart was filled with shock and gratitude, and his nose felt a little sour. Brother Tianqing, you don't want to implicate the Qi family, so you cut ties with us. But if you leave Green Mountain City, you'll have to face the revenge of Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect alone. Isn't that very dangerous? How is our Qi family worthy of your protection? Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said with an indifferent smile, all right, don't be so emotional. I'm not as great as you think. If you feel guilty, why don't you take out more treasures to make it up to me? Qi Huangji was stunned for a moment and smiled bitterly, of course, I can make it up to you. Divine beast mounts, divine stones, pills, weapons, and equipment, you can choose whatever you want. Ji Tianqing shook his head, forget it, I don't need any of these things. If you really want to repay me, I'll go to Mine 9 to cultivate for 10 days. Then we'll call it even. That's all. Qi Huangji was shocked and his eyes widened in disbelief. No. Absolutely not. He waved his hand and said firmly, if you want to cultivate in Mine 9, you can do it for as many days as you want. Also, I'll prepare a big gift for you. When you leave Green Mountain City, I'll give it to you. Ji Tianqing didn't refuse and nodded, all right, that's it then. Also, I have 50,000 pearls and 50,000 sets of heavenly god equipment. Help me deal with them. What? 50,000 sets of heavenly god equipment? Qi Huangji's eyes widened. He was so shocked that he almost bit his tongue. Brother Tianqing, are you kidding me? How can we deal with 50,000 sets of heavenly god equipment? Even a set of low-level heavenly god equipment can be sold for 40,000 divine stones. If it's a high-quality heavenly divine artifact, a set would cost at least 160,000 divine stones. That would be 8 billion. Even though the Qi family was the wealthiest. It was nothing compared to the city's mansion, the city. And the Qis, they. 50,000 heavenly god equipment alone equipment was half of the heavenly god, was to say, the to make to. Tian. Ji Tianqing thought for a moment, then nodded and said, that's true. With the Qi family's financial resources, it'll be difficult to deal with this batch of goods. It'll take at least decades. In the whole of Qingshan City, there was no one who could take on this batch of goods. Huanji, how many, two? A bitter smile appeared on Qi Huanji's face. He deliberated for a moment before extending 2 fingers. 20,000 sets. Bai Long asked. Qi Huanji shook his head. 2,000, and it'll take half a month. Ji Tianqing waved his hand. Forget it. That's too slow. I'll figure it out myself. Qi Huanji's eyes glowed as he thought of an idea. Right, if you're in a hurry, you can go to Ning Siyuan in the Tianxue County. The Nings are one of the wealthiest families in the Tianxue County. They're not only in the pet and pellet business, but also in the equipment business. I think they'll be able to help you in no time. Ji Tianqing nodded. Okay, I see. Let's talk about it later. If there's nothing else, I'm going to cultivate in the 9th mine. Don't let anyone disturb me. Also, Huanji, keep collecting information about the City Lord Mansion, the Lu family, and the Blood Sword sect. When will your father return to the Tianxue County? When will the Qi family be granted the title by the emperor? Qi Huanji cupped his hands and said, okay, I'll send someone to collect information. You can cultivate in peace. Then, Bai Long followed Ji Tianqing out of the hall and into the cave of dark light. Qi Huanji summoned 2 bodyguards and ordered them to gather information. On the way to the cave of dark light, Bai Long was puzzled. He asked Ji Tianqing through telepathy, Master, there are only about 2,000 guards and private soldiers in the city lord's mansion. That old bastard Yuan Qingkong refined 50,000 sets of equipment. What's he up to? Ji Tianqing said calmly, divine weapons and equipment can be used to equip soldiers, and can also be used as currency for transactions. The Tianxue County is small, but Yuan Qingkong's backer is Princess Tianfeng. I think he's working for Princess Tianfeng. Bai Long nodded and said, that's right. There are at least 40 to 50,000 soldiers under Princess Tianfeng's command. Ji Tianqing continued, I've checked Yuan Qingkong's and Yan Zhong's space rings. There are tens of billions of god stones, all kinds of elixirs, materials for charms, and rare treasures. In addition to the 6 monarch-level divine weapons, there are many secret books and 40,000 sets of divine realm equipment. Roughly, the value of these resources is more than 30 billion. Bai Long was shocked. He sucked in a breath of cold air and said, damn. Together with the 50,000 pearls and divine realm equipment, it's worth 40 billion. How can a mere city lord of the Tianxue County be so rich? Back then, when I followed you to the realm of the gods, I only had a few hundred billion. Ji Tianqing said with a smile, when we traveled around, we didn't deliberately accumulate wealth. Naturally, we weren't rich. Moreover, we only lived in the realm of the gods for 500 years. Yuan Qingkong's forces have been accumulating for almost 1,000 years. Moreover, the City Lord Mansion has taken control of the Cave of Dark Light and is crazily seizing resources. Bai Long nodded in agreement and reminded him, no matter what, Master, you have to be careful of Princess Tianfeng. I always feel that the City Lord of the Qingshan County is very important to Princess Tianfeng. You killed the City Lord of the Qingshan County, and Princess Tianfeng will not let it go. Ji Tianqing's expression was calm as he dismissed it with a smile. I'll deal with it when the time comes. No matter how strong they are, they're just an army. What's there to be afraid of? While chatting, the master and disciple entered mine number 9. 10 guards of the Qi family were supervising and hundreds of miners were working hard. When they saw Ji Tianqing, they bowed to him. Bai Long ordered everyone to stop working and leave mine number 9. Then, Bai Long stood guard at the entrance of the mine to protect Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing went deep into the mine and sat cross-legged on the divine essence vein. He began to cultivate. Chapter 2891. Ji Tianqing had a premonition. The fall of the city lord's mansion definitely wouldn't intimidate Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect. After a short period of peace, they would definitely take revenge even more fiercely. Therefore, he would soon have to leave Azure Mountain City. This was the last time he would devour the divine crystal mine before he left. Whoosh! As he used the Devour Divine ability, the black vortex enveloped the divine crystal mine and endless 7-colored divine power surged into his body. Strands of 7-colored divine power gathered from all directions and weaved into a net in the air. He was like a bottomless pit that wouldn't be filled no matter what. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days passed by, the vast divine power was purified by the heaven-mending orb and merged into his body. His divine Tao foundation became more and more stable, and his aura became more and more powerful. After reaching the Divine Lord realm, every level was 10 times more difficult than the Heavenly God realm. In the divine world, most divine lords would need hundreds or even thousands of years of bitter cultivation to reach the next level. But Ji Tianqing was different. The heaven-mending orb and the Devour Divine ability were terrifying and heaven-defying. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Ji Tianqing's strength had reached the peak of the first level of the Divine Lord realm. His strength had also accumulated to an extremely high level, and his aura was unfathomable. He was just a little bit away from reaching the second level of the Divine Lord realm. However, there was a bottleneck that he couldn't smoothly break through. He still lacked an opportunity. There wasn't much point in continuing to devour the divine crystal mine. He was temporarily stuck at the peak of the first level and couldn't advance any further. Moreover, the power of the divine crystal mine had decreased by 60%. Not only was the aura of the mine much weaker, but even the divine crystals in the ores had dimmed. Therefore, Ji Tianqing could only end his cultivation. After opening his eyes, he casually picked up a few ores and crushed them to observe the divine crystals within. Seeing the weak light of the 7-colored divine crystals, he couldn't help but smile awkwardly. I devoured too much this time. Not only did the mine lose a lot of power, but the quality of the divine crystals also decreased by half. I wonder how Qi Huanji and his son will react when they find out about this. Before this, Qi Huanji had vowed that Ji Tianqing could cultivate in mine number 9 for as long as he wanted. Now that he thought about it, Qi Huanji was still too young. Ji Tianqing got up and walked out of the mine. When he was about to reach the entrance of the mine, he saw from afar that the white dragon was squatting in the pit, digging with a face full of concentration. White dragon dug out one ore after another and took out 7-colored divine crystals. He held a few pieces of 7-colored divine crystals in his hands, sizing them up as he shook his head inside. Isn't Master too fierce? How many days had it been since he started cultivating? It had almost sucked dry the power of the mineral vein. Look at these divine crystals, all of them look so listless, as if they have kidney deficiency. Sigh. Although he had a look of disdain on his face, he still put the divine crystals into his spatial ring. Ji Tianqing was both annoyed and amused. He asked, "White Dragon, what are you doing?" The white dragon was awakened. He hurriedly threw away the ore in his hand, pretending that nothing had happened, and flew over with a smile. "Master, you're done with your closed-door cultivation. Let's go then." Ji Tianqing raised an eyebrow and said earnestly, "White Dragon, I already have 40 billion worth of resources. This is the first bucket of gold we've dug up since we returned to the divine realm. We don't have to worry about cultivation resources for the next few decades. Moreover, we have the 5 elements world and so many source stones. We don't lack cultivation resources at all. Why do you have to dig out the divine crystals yourself? How many divine crystals can you dig out even if you dig day and night for 10 days like this? The white dragon humbly nodded and said, "You're right, master. Your disciple is stupid. In the past 10 days, your disciple's hands are almost worn out, but I've only dug out tens of thousands of divine crystals. Master, you're powerful enough to plunder 40 billion worth of resources with just a little trick. Your disciple can't compare to you. I'm full of admiration. Alright, stop flattering me." Ji Tianqing waved his hand and let him out. "We should go." Not long after, the master and disciple left the cave of profound light. Qi Huangji had been waiting for a long time. He hurriedly led them into a palace and talked in the study. "Brother Tianqing, you're finally out. I've heard a lot of news these days. There are 2 pieces of good news. Do you want to hear them?" Qi Huangji was beaming with joy. He was obviously in a good mood. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly. "Go ahead." Qi Huangji said with a smile, "The first piece of good news is that my father came back 2 days ago. Yesterday morning, the imperial envoy and eunuchs arrived at the Qi residence and announced the decree in public. My father was conferred the title of Viscount of Qingshan. The news has spread, and the whole Qingshan city is talking about it. Our Qi family is famous everywhere and has become a real noble family." Ji Tianqing expected this news, so he wasn't surprised. He nodded and said, "What else?" Qi Huangji continued, "The second piece of good news is that Yuan Qingkong and Yan Zong died on Black Shark Island. The news has spread to the surrounding cities." On the night of the incident, the family members of the city lord's residence quietly fled Qingshan city under the escort of 600 guards. The city lord's residence is now empty, with only a few hundred guards and servants left. The same goes for the Lu family. Many of the servants and guards have been dismissed. The Lu family's widow and family members have packed up their belongings and left Qingshan city for their distant relatives in Tianfeng County. After hearing this news, Bai Long didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He asked, "You call this good news? We haven't searched the city lord's residence and the Lu family's treasury. Those people must have taken all the money and treasures with them when they left Qingshan city." That's true." Qi Huangji was startled. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "However, Brother Tianqing has 10 billion yuan in wealth and hasn't mentioned it. I'm sure he doesn't care. For us, with the city lord's residence and the Lu family gone, we have 2 fewer opponents. The remaining Feng, Qi, and Yuqi families have been watching from the sidelines. They know very well why the city lord's residence and the Lu family were defeated. Now, the 3 aristocratic families are afraid of us and can't wait to join forces to prevent us from wiping them out. Our Qi family has finally gained a foothold in Qingshan city." Ji Tianqing tapped his fingers on the armrest of his chair. He pondered for a moment and said, "A country can't go a day without a ruler, and a city can't go a day without a ruler. The city lord's residence is only in name now. Someone must step up and take over the position of the city lord to maintain the stability of Qingshan city. Huangji, the imperial envoy, hasn't left Qingshan city yet, right?" Qi Huangji vaguely guessed something. His eyes lit up and he quickly nodded. "He's a guest at my house. He'll leave early tomorrow morning to report back to the imperial city." Ji Tianqing smiled. "That's great. Send a message to your father now and ask him to volunteer to take over the position of the city lord. After all, this is for the sake of Qingshan city's stability." End of chapter. Chapter 2892. You want my father to ask the monarch to make him the lord of Qingshan city? Qi Huangji was stunned. He looked at Ji Tianqing in astonishment. "Brother Tianqing, is this right? According to the laws of the God Kingdom, the appointment and dismissal of the Lord of Qingshan City must be examined and approved by the Commandery Princess before being reported to the monarch. Then, the monarch can decide on the appointment and dismissal and issue an edict. My father directly asked the monarch for the appointment through the imperial envoy. This is completely against the rules. This is overstepping. Ji Tianqing looked at him with a half-smile and asked, "Do you want your father to be the Lord of Qingshan City?" Qi Huangji answered without hesitation, "Of course. Once my father becomes the Lord of Qingshan City, the Qi family's thousand-year foundation will be as stable as a mountain. Not only will the Qi family's status rise, but its power will also grow rapidly. Even the Ning family of Tianxua City will think highly of us. As the young lord of Qingshan City, the difference in status between me and Ning Xiyuan will not be that big." At this point, Qi Huangji suddenly realized that he had inadvertently said what was on his mind, so he quickly shut up. Ji Tianqing asked again, "You want your father to be the lord of Qingshan City? Not only will his status be stable, but there will also be many benefits. But do you think the Commandery Princess of Tianfeng will recommend your father to be the Lord of Qingshan City?" Qi Huangji quickly shook his head and sneered, "Not to mention recommending my father to be the Lord of Qingshan City, even if my father begs him, he will refuse. He might even be thinking about how to get rid of our Qi family." Ji Tianqing nodded and smiled, "Since you know this, why don't you ask your father to fight for it? Even if your father does this and oversteps the rules, so what? Your father has just been conferred the title of Duke. The monarch will not punish him on account of his contributions. Moreover, wealth comes from danger." Ji Tianqing said nothing more. If Qi Huangji and Qi Tianlong did not have the courage, there was nothing he could do. If they missed this opportunity, they could only blame the Qi family for not working hard enough and not having a meteoric rise. Qi Huangji hesitated for a moment, then nodded firmly. "All right, I'll send a message to my father now." He did not avoid Ji Tianqing and White Dragon, and took out a communication jade slip on the spot, and sent a message to Qi Tianlong. For the past 2 days, the Qi residence had been decorated with lanterns and colored banners, creating a joyous atmosphere. The family head had been conferred the title of Viscount by the monarch, and the entire Qi family was incomparably glorious. In addition, the imperial envoy had arrived and was a guest at the Qi residence. Everyone in the clan was very proud, as if they were superior to everyone else and had become the noblest clan in Green Mountain City. The guards and servants became even more cautious and respectful, not daring to make the slightest mistake. It was evening and the sun was about to set. Qi Tianlong was handling affairs in the study. The housekeeper walked briskly to the door, bowed and reporting to the family head, "The banquet has been prepared and can start soon. Do you want to invite the imperial envoy now?" Early the next morning, the imperial envoy and the eunuchs would leave Qingshan City and return to the capital to report on their mission. Tonight's banquet was a farewell for the imperial envoy, and it was very grand. Qi Tianlong put down the affairs in his hands and nodded slightly. "All right, go and ask the imperial envoy now. I'll be there soon." The housekeeper acknowledged the order and turned to leave. Qi Tianlong prepared to change into a luxurious robe before attending the banquet. But at this moment, a spiritual light flew from the sky and landed in front of him. The spiritual light dissipated, and a communication jade slip appeared. Qi Tianlong was stunned for a moment. He reached out to hold the jade slip and read the contents with his divine sense. A moment later, after reading the contents of the jade slip, his expression changed on the spot. His eyes widened slightly, revealing a look of shock and disbelief. This little brat, when did he become so bold? Qi Tianlong could not believe that the shocking words in the jade slip came from his son, Qi Huangji. In his mind, Qi Huangji had always been a foppish and idle person. Even though Qi Huangji had obviously grown a lot in the past month under Tianqing's service. But Qi Tianlong found it hard to believe that Qi Huangji had such courage to make such a shocking suggestion. After a short moment of shock, Qi Tianlong crushed the jade slip in his hand and fell into silence and hesitation. He could roughly guess that Qi Huangji's suggestion was most likely the idea of Sir Tianqing. But this question was no longer important. What he was most conflicted about now was whether to listen to Qi Huangji's suggestion or not. Should he take advantage of tonight's banquet to express his intentions to the imperial envoy face to face and make a request to the king? If I make this request face to face, I'll most likely be scolded by the imperial envoy. If the news reaches the king, he might even be angered and think that I, a newly promoted viscount, am unreasonably arrogant and don't know the rules. There's a 90% chance that the king will reject my request and leave a bad impression in his heart. But Qingshan City is already a mess, and it's located in the northernmost part of the continent, right next to the Sunset Seas. It's very important. Maybe, there's a 10% chance that the king will agree to my request. Qi Tianlong frowned and silently weighed the pros and cons. If there was enough time, he really wanted to calm down and seriously consider for 2 days before making a decision. But the steward had already gone to invite the imperial envoy, and the banquet was about to begin. The time left for him was at most 100 breaths. He had to make a decision. After a long time, Qi Tianlong took a deep breath, secretly gritted his teeth, and made a decision. He didn't waste any more time to change his clothes. After tidying up his appearance, he left the study and rushed to the reception hall where the banquet was held. Night fell. In the splendid reception hall, gemstone lamps were lit, and the brilliance was gorgeous and gentle. In the middle of the hall, there was a long dining table filled with delicacies and fine wine. The one sitting in the host's seat was naturally the imperial envoy. This was a middle-aged man wearing a python-patterned golden robe. His body was tall and sturdy, and his face was resolute. His bearing was noble and dignified, and his strength had reached the 6th level of the Divine Lord realm. This person was called Divine Lord Shuemo, and he was the right commander-in-chief of the Royal City Palace Guard. He had great authority. Qi Tianlong got the news from the Ning family that this person was the trusted aide of the third prince. Beside Divine Lord Shuemo, there was a white-haired old man with a fair face and jade-like skin. The old man's body was thin, and he looked weak. However, his clothes were very beautiful and exquisite, and there was not a speck of dust on them. He wore a jade crown and held a square handkerchief in his hand. From time to time, he covered his mouth and coughed, looking sickly. Even so, no one dared to despise him. Because this old eunuch was a favorite of the monarch, and he was a 7th-degree upper divine lord. Even Divine Lord Shuemo had to be respectful to him. In order to entertain Divine Lord Shuemo and the old eunuch, the Qi family took great pains. There were only 5 people at the big dining table. Besides the imperial envoy and the eunuch, there were only the family master Qi Tianlong and 2 elders. The 3 of them smiled apologetically and toasted to the imperial envoy and the old eunuch, flattering them secretly. After 3 rounds of wine, Divine Lord Shuemo put down the wine cup. The smile on his face disappeared, and he asked casually, "I heard that the governor of Yuan City was killed." Qi Tianlong's face froze, and his hand that was holding the wine cup trembled. Chapter 2893. Qi Tianlong had not found a chance to make a request to Sir God Shuemo unexpectedly. Sir God Shuemo spoke first. His tone was calm and indifferent, without the slightest emotion, making it impossible for others to guess his true thoughts. Qi Tianlong could not figure out Sir God Shuemo's intention. Was he going to make things difficult for the Qi family? After all, Sir God Shuemo said that the city master was killed, not that the city master was dead. There was only one word difference, but the meaning was different. Qi Tianlong put down his cup and calmed down. He nodded and said, "What the imperial envoy said is true. The city master of Yuan City was indeed killed. It happened a few days ago. Sir God Shuamo said again, I also heard that the Qi family and the city master's mansion have a grudge. Hearing this, the two elders of the Qi family changed their faces. They immediately put down their wine cups, not in the mood to eat or drink, and listened in silence. Qi Tianlong was under more pressure. He was worried. But he did not show it on his face. He replied calmly, Sir, you are well informed. There is indeed such a thing. Speaking of the origin of the grudge, we have to start from 70 years ago. That year, Qi Tianlong told Sir God Shuemo the origin of the fight in the Dark Light Cave. Sir God Shuemo nodded and said, So, the grudge between the Qi family and the city master's mansion is only limited to the fight in the Dark Light Cave. The city master's mansion has controlled the treasury for 70 years. They thought that it was in the bag. But they lost the martial arts competition and the Dark Light Cave was taken away by the Qi family. Viscount Tianlong, is that true? Qi Tianlong nodded and said yes. The old eunuch coughed and wiped his mouth with a square handkerchief. He asked in a sharp voice, although the treasury can produce a huge amount of wealth every year, it is very tempting. But no matter what, you should not have killed Yuan Qingkong and his son. After all, they were nobles bestowed by the monarch and the city lords under the rule of the divine kingdom. Viscount Tianlong, you can't bear this crime, right? Qi Tianlong quickly stood up and bowed. He said solemnly, Your Excellency's words make Tianlong extremely fearful. I will never agree with you. As everyone knows, Yuan Qingkong and his son died in the setting Sun Sea area in the territory of the Black Mermaid clan. This matter has nothing to do with the Qi family. Tianlong will not break the law. Moreover, when Yuan Qingkong and his son died, Sky Dragon was waiting for orders in the capital and had not yet returned to Green Mountain City. Sirs, please judge clearly. The old eunuch nodded slightly and asked again, You weren't there when it happened, so of course the monarch knows. However, I've heard that your Qi family has recruited a new consecrator. His strength and methods are very powerful. The old eunuch obviously meant something else. With a smile on his face, Qi Tianlong replied respectfully, My lord, you must be joking. Tianqing is young and courageous, brave and resourceful. However, these were all small skirmishes that couldn't even enter the discerning eyes of the two lords. After all, he's just a young man who has yet to break through to the Divine Lord realm. He did not defend Ji Tianqing and deny that he killed Yuan Qingkong. Instead, he explained to the imperial envoy and the old eunuch that Ji Tianqing had not yet reached the Divine Lord realm. As long as one wasn't an idiot, one would understand that it was impossible for a young heavenly god realm cultivator to kill Yuan Qingkong. The old eunuch took a deep look at Qi Tianlong and said nothing. Sir God Shuemo smiled and said, Viscount Tianlong, don't be nervous. We are just asking casually. You're a new viscount and a meritorious official. Why would we suspect the Qi family? Qi Tianlong also smiled and cupped his hands, saying, Thank you, my lords, for your insight. Sir God Shuemo nodded and said earnestly, Remember what you've said tonight. Also, don't let down the monarch's trust and title. Qi Tianlong hurriedly agreed and took the opportunity to praise the king's wisdom and martial prowess, flattering him. Sir God Shuemo was gratified and the old eunuch also showed a rare smile. The banquet was about to end in such a harmonious atmosphere. However, Qi Tianlong plucked up his courage and said to the two lords, My lords, there's something that has been bothering Tianlong. After much consideration, Tianlong has decided to ask for your help. Sir God Shuemo looked at him with interest and asked, What's the matter? Qi Tianlong bowed deeply and said in a sincere tone, May Tianlong be so bold as to ask the two of you to help Qingshan City find a new ruler. Now, the city lord and his son are dead and the people in the city lord's mansion have fled in the night. The spacious city lord's mansion is empty and the people in the city guard department are in a panic. Countless guards are slacking off. The security in the city is deteriorating and it is gradually becoming chaotic. In addition, the Black Mermaids tribe in the Sunset Sea area is eyeing Qingshan City covetously and they are full of ambition. In recent days, the residents in the city are in a panic and many of them have the idea of escaping. Even the cases of missing persons, theft and murder are breaking out frequently. Qi Tianlong's tone was sorrowful and there was a bit of worry in it. As the saying goes, a city can't be without a lord. Qingshan City has no lord and there are rumors everywhere. The people are restless and uneasy. Aristocratic families like the Qi family have the ability to protect themselves and try their best to maintain the order in the city and protect the residents. However, our power is limited after all. I hope the two lords can report the situation to the monarch and appoint a new lord as soon as possible. Otherwise, the 3 million people in Qingshan City will be in danger. After saying that, Qi Tianlong bowed to Sir God Shuemo and the old eunuch. Sir God Shuemo and the old eunuch looked at each other and there was a strange look in their eyes. One was smiling faintly while the other was praising him. The old eunuch nodded slightly and said, "Viscount Tianlong cares about the country and the people. You care about the people and it is the blessing of Qingshan City." Sir God Shuemo pondered for a while and asked, "Viscount Tianlong, you are an aristocrat who has been in the city for hundreds of years. You know the situation better. What suggestions do you have for the current situation?" The meaning of this sentence was somewhat interesting. Qi Tianlong felt warm in his heart and he was grateful to the imperial envoy. He quickly replied, "The situation in Qingshan City is deteriorating rapidly and it has reached a very dangerous stage. In addition, the Black Mermaids tribe has been very active recently and there is a tendency for them to go south. Tianlong thinks that this matter must be decided as soon as possible to calm the people down." Of course, Tianlong also knows that the appointment of a lord is of great importance and it cannot be done rashly. However, the situation is urgent and we can be flexible. Why don't we appoint a person with both ability and integrity to take charge of the situation? Calm the people down and stabilize the situation in Qingshan City so that the monarch has enough time to consider. Hearing this, the old eunuch took a deep look at him again. Sir God Shuemo looked at the cave and pondered for a while. He nodded and said, "This method is feasible. After all, the people are the foundation of the country. The monarch doesn't want Qingshan City to fall into chaos. Viscount Tianlong, who do you think is a person with both ability and integrity who can take charge of the situation?" Qi Tianlong pretended to think seriously and asked, "Master Yuqi, Master Feng and Master Qi are all prestigious aristocratic families. I can choose one of the three." The old eunuch's eyes became more and more playful. Sir God Shuemo smiled and asked, "Among the 3 masters you recommend, who has a title?" "Heir." Qi Tianlong was stunned and shook his head, "No. How can you be the temporary lord of the city if you don't have a title? This is not in accordance with the laws of the kingdom of God." Sir God Shuemo denied. Qi Tianlong frowned and muttered, "Then it's not easy to deal with this." Sir God Shuemo looked at him with a smile and asked, "Viscount Tianlong, are you not going to recommend yourself?" Qi Tianlong was stunned for a moment before he asked, "My lord, is this even possible? Is it in accordance with the laws?" Sir God Shuemo smiled and said, "The laws of the kingdom of God don't stipulate that you can't recommend yourself. Therefore, if you are willing to take the responsibility of calming the people down, you can recommend yourself." Chapter 2894. Viscount Tianlong, are you willing to maintain the stability of Green Mountain City and pacify millions of people? Sir God Shuemo looked at Qi Tianlong with a smile and asked, "Plus, you have to face the pressure of Black Mermaids tribe's possible invasion. In a short period of time, the Holy Nation won't send troops to help. You can only rely on your family to maintain the situation. Are you willing to bear the heavy responsibility and repay the monarch's appreciation? Qi Tianlong's blood flowed quickly and he nodded solemnly, "It's my honor to serve the monarch and 3 million people." Sir God Shuai-mo nodded slightly and smiled, "That's great. I'll report this matter to the monarch in detail." The imperial envoy was swift and decisive and he didn't waste any time. Then, he took out a special jade slip and wrote a secret memorial to the monarch. After a while, he finished writing the secret memorial and sent it out solemnly. Qi Tianlong looked at the jade slip disappearing into the night sky and he was nervous. Success or failure would depend on the monarch's reaction. Sir God Shuai-mo was still relaxed and he smiled, "All right, let's continue drinking after we've finished our business." Qi Tianlong quickly agreed and took turns toasting Sir God Shuai-mo and the old eunuch with the 2 elders of Qi family. The toasting and flattery before was out of respect and flattery. Now, the toasting was more out of gratitude. Qi Tianlong knew clearly that Sir God Shuai-mo had helped him a lot. That was why things went so smoothly. Fortunately, I was wrong after hearing it. I listened to Reverend Tianqing's suggestion. If I didn't gamble this time, I wouldn't know I'd be so lucky. Now, it's up to the monarch's decision. Everyone drank and chatted. The atmosphere was much warmer. About 15 minutes later, there was a spiritual light that flew back and landed in front of Sir God Shuai-mo. The spiritual light dispersed and a special golden jade slip appeared. It was the secret memorial from the monarch. Sir God Shuai-mo picked up the secret memorial and looked at Qi Tianlong with a smile. He asked mischievously, "Viscount Tianlong, the answer will be revealed soon. Are you nervous?" Qi Tianlong smiled awkwardly and cupped his hands, "Tianlong is stupid. I don't dare to guess the monarch's intention." Sir God Shuai-mo stopped teasing him and read the contents of the secret memorial with divine sense. After reading it, he was stunned for a moment, and his expression was somewhat playful. Qi Tianlong's heart tightened, and he could not help but ask, "My lord, what does the monarch think?" Sir God Shuai-mo looked at him with deep eyes and said solemnly, "The monarch's reply is only 4 words. Do as you deem fit." Qi Tianlong was stunned for a moment and then sighed, "The monarch is indeed wise. His holy will is unpredictable. Imperial Envoy Darren is also a pillar of the country, to think that he is so trusted and valued by the monarch." The monarch's intention was obvious. He wanted Sir God Shuai-mo to make the decision himself. Sir God Shuai-mo could decide the position of the master of the city with a single thought. What kind of trust was that? The old eunuch reminded him in a timely manner, "I don't dare to speculate on the monarch's thoughts. However, I would like to remind you, Imperial Envoy, that behind acting on your own initiative, there is a joint responsibility." To put it simply, since Sir God Shuai-mo made the decision, he had to be responsible. Qi Tianlong became the city lord. If he made contributions, he would also be rewarded for his ability to judge people. If Qi Tianlong messed things up and caused trouble, then he would be punished as well. Sir God Shuai-mo pondered for a moment and looked at Qi Tianlong with burning eyes. He said in a deep voice, "Viscount Tianlong, you understand the monarch's intention in Eunuch Li's words, right?" Qi Tianlong quickly bowed and said solemnly, "You are willing to trust me. I will be deeply grateful and never forget you. Rest assured, I will do my best to maintain the stability of Green Mountain City. Not only that, I will do my best to make contributions and not let you down." Sir God Shuai-mo smiled satisfactorily and nodded, "Very good, Viscount Tianlong is loyal to the monarch. I admire you very much for the people of Green Mountain City. Now, I will use the monarch's verbal order to announce that Viscount Qi Tianlong will temporarily take over the position of the city lord of Green Mountain City." The verbal order was not as formal as the conferment. It had to be announced to the world. However, this was the monarch's verbal order. It was still the final word. Qi Tianlong and the two elders of the Qi family were so excited that their blood was boiling. They quickly stood up and bowed, kowtowed and thanked the monarch. Sir God Shuamo and the old eunuch represented the monarch and received the three of them. This matter was settled. Everyone drank and chatted for a long time. After the guests and the host enjoyed themselves, they left the banquet. The next morning, the guards of Sir God Shuamo and the old eunuch left the Qi residence. Qi Tianlong led the guards of the Qi family to send the imperial envoy out of the city and watched them leave. Soon after, Qi Tianlong personally led the guards and entered the luxurious mansion. Originally, there were only servants and servants left in the mansion. They were selling their belongings and running away. After the Qi family took over the mansion, they dismissed most of the servants and servants, leaving only a small number of them. At the same time, the guards of the Qi family purposely spread the news that the monarch had given a verbal order to appoint Qi Tianlong as the acting city lord. After the news spread, it immediately caused an uproar in Green Mountain City. Millions of people were discussing this matter. Most of them knew that the Qi family had killed Yuan Qingkong and his son, as well as the two consecrators of the mansion. But in the end, Qi Tianlong was not only made a viscount, but also the new city lord. This was simply too terrifying. However, everyone only guessed that the Qi family had killed Yuan Qingkong and his son. There was no evidence. Ordinary people did not dare to say it in public. Otherwise, the consequences would be unpredictable. The Feng family, Qi family, and Yuqi family were qualified to compete with the Qi family. But the Qi family was favored by the emperor. They were first made a viscount and then took over the position of the city lord. They also did not know if the Qi family had anything to do with the royal family and the monarch. Under such circumstances, no matter how shocked they were or how unwilling they were, they could only swallow their anger. Whoever dared to stand up against the Qi family would be seeking their own death. The Qi family could use the monarch's verbal order to get rid of them legitimately. Therefore, while Green Mountain City was bustling with noise and discussion, the three aristocratic families were very quiet. The process of the Qi family taking over Green Mountain City was very smooth. There was almost no resistance. In just one day, the city lord's mansion, the city guard department, and the various departments were all controlled by the Qi family. Qi Tianlong was confident that within 10 days, he could eradicate the remnants of the previous city lord and replace them with the Qi family. At that time, Green Mountain City would truly fall into the hands of the Qi family. At night, Qi Tianlong sat in the study of the city lord's mansion, looking at his surroundings with satisfaction. Men, drag these desks, chairs, and couches out and sweep them all. I don't want anything that Yuan Qingkong has used. Following his order, a few guards rushed into the study and began to move the items. Qi Tianlong thought for a while and ordered, "Send a message to the young master. Tell him to come back with consecrator Tianqing." Chapter 2895. Late at night, Qi Tianlong sat in the study room, concentrating on handling official business. He had just taken over the position of the city lord, and there were too many things to deal with. In the next month, he would not have much time to rest. However, no matter how hard it was, he would gladly endure it. At this time, a guard outside the door reported. Reporting to the city lord, the young city lord and Tianqing have returned. As soon as the Qi family took over the city lord mansion, these guards and servants cleverly changed the way they addressed him. To Qi Tianlong, they did not even need to call him the acting city lord. Anyway, everyone knew that the position of the city lord would definitely belong to Qi Tianlong. Even Qi Huangji was basking in the limelight, becoming the honorable young city lord. Qi Tianlong hurriedly put down the document in his hand and said, "Bring them in." The guard obeyed and bowed out of the study room. Immediately, Qi Huangji and Ji Tianqing stepped into the study room. "Father, you really did it." As soon as he entered the study room, Qi Huangji could not wait to rush to his father and give him a bear hug. Qi Tianlong was full of joy, but he could not help but scold, "Huangji, let go. You are now the young city lord, why are you still acting like a child? Where is your decency?" Pushing Qi Huangji away, he hurriedly greeted Ji Tianqing and bowed sincerely. "I thank young Master Tianqing for his great kindness. If it were not for young Master Tianqing's advice, personally experiencing danger, and making outstanding contributions. What did I, Qi Tianlong, do to make the Qi family so glorious?" Being conferred the title of Viscount by the monarch and taking over the position of city lord was something he did not even dare to dream of before. And Ji Tianqing had only been in the Qi family for a month, and he had helped him realize his dream. Qi Tianlong's gratitude and respect for Ji Tianqing was really difficult to express in words. Ji Tianqing stretched out his hand and helped Qi Tianlong up. He smiled and said, "Patriarch, you are too serious. Although I have done my best, you also need to seize the opportunity to succeed. In short, this is everyone's credit." Qi Tianlong was even more moved. He praised from the bottom of his heart, "Young master's wisdom is unparalleled. You are so humble and courteous, and never arrogant. This Qi is truly moved that this tiny Qingshan city was able to welcome such a prodigy of worldly affairs like you. I don't know how much good fortune it has received." Without waiting for Ji Tianqing to reply, Qi Huangji laughed and said, "Father, how can a small temple like Qingshan town accommodate a great bodhisattva like him? Brother Tianqing said that he will be leaving Qingshan city in 2 days." Hearing this news, Qi Tianlong's body stiffened. Leaving in 2 days? So sudden. He knew very well that someone like Ji Tianqing would not stay in Qingshan city forever. But he didn't expect Ji Tianqing to be in such a hurry to leave. Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "Now that the situation in Qingshan city has been settled, and the Qi family has gotten what they wanted, there's not much use for me to stay. I'll only attract more powerful enemies. The small Qingshan city could not bear the wrath of those big shots. After I leave, their target will naturally change, and the Qi family will be safe." Qi Tianlong's heart tightened, and complex emotions gushed out. His eyes were even a little red. "Young Master Tianqing, you've given so much thought to the Qi family, and the Qi family is deeply indebted to you. How can the Qi family repay you? I will never be able to repay this kindness." Ji Tianqing smiled and shook his head, "Master, you're too serious. Huangji has already repaid you, so you don't have to worry about this matter. Before I leave, I only have one last request." Qi Tianlong nodded without hesitation, "Young master, please speak." Ji Tianqing, "Master, please send a message to Miss Ning Siyuan to ask if there's a result of that matter." Qi Tianlong frowned doubtfully, "That matter?" Ji Tianqing chuckled and said, "You don't have to say much, just pass my words to her." "Okay, no problem." Qi Tianlong did not ask any more questions and agreed to this matter. The three of them sat down and chatted over tea. Qi Tianlong hesitated for a moment before asking the question in his heart, "Young Master Tianqing, it was your idea to ask Huangji to become the city lord, right? You're not in Qingshan city, and you haven't seen the imperial envoy, so how can you be sure that the envoy will agree?" Qi Huangji was also very doubtful, and looked at Ji Tianqing expectantly. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said with a smile, "I'm only 80% sure, so I can't be 100% sure. I'm guessing that although the monarch is far away in the capital, he has a pervasive intelligence network, and his eyes and ears are all over the blood-flame divine country. The monarch is well aware of the relationship between Yuan Qingkong and Princess Tianfeng. The monarch can also investigate the alliance between Yuan Qingkong, the Lu family, and the Blood Sword sect. Since the Blood Sword sect is involved, we have to consider the backing behind the Blood Sword sect, which is a big shot in the royal family. This kind of big shot is most likely a governor or a prince with the ability to fight for the throne. Hearing this, Qi Tianlong and his son had a vague idea. Ji Tianqing continued, I've seen the information. The monarch is old and has plans to pass down the throne. After retiring, he wants to break through to the God-King realm. Apart from the first prince, who died young, the monarch has 4 princes. These 4 have already made contributions and have considerable power, and they're fighting openly and covertly to inherit the throne. Therefore, I'm guessing that the big shot behind the Blood Sword sect should be a prince. The Blood Sword sect killed the innocent in Qingshan City and despicably stole the profound light cave. The monarch must know about this. However, the monarch pretended not to know because he didn't want to hurt that prince's face. Hearing this, Qi Tianlong suddenly understood and said, therefore, the monarch might be a little dissatisfied with that prince and the Blood Sword sect, but it's inconvenient for him to act. This time, the monarch sent an imperial envoy to bestow me the title. In order to avoid suspicion, he definitely wouldn't send that prince's people. Otherwise, he would be supporting that prince and the Blood Sword sect, which would only make the Blood Sword sect even more domineering. Ji Tianqing smiled and said, that's right. That prince also guessed the monarch's intentions, so the Blood Sword sect has recently disappeared without a trace and hasn't acted. Qi Tianlong added, I heard from Ning Qingang that the imperial envoy this time, God Monarch Blood Inc., is a trusted aide of the third prince. Ji Tianqing nodded and said with certainty, since that's the case, the backer behind the Blood Sword sect is definitely not the third prince. Moreover, the third prince and that prince are most likely competitors. Hearing this, Qi Tianlong suddenly understood and slapped his thigh. So that's how it is. No wonder God Monarch Blood Inc. didn't refuse when I tactfully suggested it at the banquet yesterday. Not only was he happy to see it happen, he even deliberately guided me and supported me. The monarch's orders allowed him to act as he pleased, but he also had to take responsibility. When I expressed my stance to him, he agreed without hesitation. Pausing for a moment, Qi Tianlong frowned and said, so, God Monarch Blood Inc. is deliberately trying to rope me in to strengthen the third prince's forces? Since I've already boarded the third prince's ship, I'm irreconcilable with the prince behind the Blood Sword sect. Ji Tianqing smiled and said, that's indeed the case. You should know what you're doing in the future. However, you don't have to worry. You're now the third prince's subordinate and also a viscount newly conferred by the monarch. As long as the people of the Blood Sword sect aren't crazy, they won't dare to act against you. As for me, I'm the target of their anger. Chapter 2896. After listening to Ji Tianqing's analysis, Qi Tianqing and Qi Tianqing were enlightened. They finally understood why the Qi clan had been doing so well for the past month. First, they were given the title of nobility, then they were appointed as the city lord and controlled the entire Green Mountain city. It turned out that all of this was within Ji Tianqing's expectations and calculations. Without a doubt, the Qi clan had the last laugh. And Ji Tianqing had sacrificed too much for this, and he was also in great danger. Qi Tianlong felt increasingly guilty, and his heart was filled with uneasiness and shame. Even though Ji Tianqing said that Qi Huangji had already repaid him. But Qi Tianlong still felt that it was not right to not prepare a generous gift to thank him. Young Master Tianqing, have you thought about where to go after leaving Green Mountain City? Qi Tianlong tried to ask Ji Tianqing about his whereabouts. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said calmly, although I will be wandering around the boundless heaven continent most of the time in the future. However, the first place they went to was Tianfeng in Tianshui County. Qi Tianlong hurriedly advised, the princess of Tianfeng will definitely not let you go, so if you pass by Tianfeng County, try not to linger. Go straight to Tianshui County. I will send a message to Ning Qingang and ask him to take care of you. This way, it will be more convenient for you to move around Jianxue County. Ji Tianqing did not refuse and said with a smile, "Thank you." Then, the three of them chatted for a while before going their separate ways. For the next 2 days, Qi Tianlong was busy taking over Qingshan City, and he was swamped with work every day. Qi Huanji was focused on gathering all kinds of resources and treasures. In order to prepare a gift for Ji Tianqing, he almost ran through the entire Green Mountain City. Ji Tianqing had been resting in the city lord's mansion and did not show up. When Yuan Qingkong's men left, they emptied the treasury of resources and many divine ability manuals in the library pavilion. However, there were still countless ancient books and records left in the library pavilion. Most of them were history books, biographies, astronomy, geography, travel notes, and all kinds of strange stories. To others, these things were of no value. They were not even as valuable as the Divine Ability Secret Manual. But to Ji Tianqing, these ancient books were also treasures. He had been staying in the library, eagerly flipping through the books. Through the scanning of his divine sense, he had flipped through over 10,000 books in a short 2 days. He also had a deeper understanding of the local customs of the Bloodfire Divine Kingdom, the Great Yan Empire, and the North Sky region. Unfortunately, other than the North Sky region, very little was known about the situation of the other regions. Not to mention the entire Boundless Heaven continent, as well as the regions outside the continent, there was almost no contact. Ji Tianqing was a little disappointed as he thought to himself, Yuan Qingkong is just a small city lord, his authority and status are too low. He is not qualified to come in contact with the news of the Boundless Heaven continent and the outside world. Perhaps even the Ning clan of the Jianxue County knew very little about the news outside the continent. What exactly had the current God realm become? What happened in the past 1,000 years? Ji Tianqing walked out of the library and bathed in the setting sun. Looking at the lotus pond and bamboo forest not far away, he pondered silently. How many of the 18 divine kings who followed me back then have fallen? How many of them were still alive? When can I recover to the divine king realm, leave the boundless heaven continent, and return to the Tianshan region of the primal chaos continent? Long before ascending, Ji Tianqing had a plan. After returning to the God realm, he would first recover his strength at the fastest speed and strive to return to the divine king realm as soon as possible. Then, he would return to the Tianshan region of the primal chaos continent, find his old subordinates, and investigate the whereabouts of the 18 divine kings. Finally, he would find out the truth of the matter back then, gather the strongest forces, and take revenge on the enemy. This was just the general idea. The specific details would depend on the situation. Moreover, this plan could not be realized in 3 to 5 years. It would definitely take a long time. Ji Tianqing was pondering. At this time, the expressions of 2 messenger guards flashed past in a hurry. When passing by him, the 2 hesitated for a moment. After bowing and greeting him, the 2 of them quickly flew away. Ji Tianqing saw the anxious expressions on their faces and guessed that something had happened when they went straight to the city master's study. However, the Qi family had just taken over Qingshan City, and there were many things happening in the past 2 days. Similar situations happened from time to time, and he was used to it. He did not think too much about it. He stepped across the stone bridge and the tree-lined path in the garden and returned to his residence. Just as he walked out of the garden, he saw the 2 messenger guards return in a hurry. When the 2 guards saw him, they had no choice but to stop and bow again. "Greetings, master." After bowing, the 2 were about to leave. Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and asked, "Wait. Why are you so flustered?" The 2 guards did not dare to leave and could only answer truthfully. "Master, a tragedy happened last night in Shufeng town, 100 miles south of the city. For some reason, more than 100 people disappeared without a trace. More than 300 spiritual birds and beasts died quietly and turned into a pool of blood. After the city guards went to investigate, they found more than 100 skeletons in a valley not far from the town. The skeletons were placed on the ground and pieced together into the shape of a sword. It was very strange. Ji Tianqing frowned immediately and had a bad premonition. What should come will come in the end. After muttering to himself, he asked again, "Then what did the city lord say after you reported it to him?" The two guards quickly replied, "After this incident, the tens of thousands of people in Shufeng town are in danger and are uneasy. The city master sent 300 city guards to guard Shufeng town. He strictly protected the town and prevented the news from leaking. At the same time, the city master sent a team of masters to investigate the specific cause and the murderer." Ji Tianqing nodded to show that he understood and waved his hand to let the two leave. The two guards cupped their hands and bowed. Then, they quickly flew away to carry out their mission. Ji Tianqing returned to his residence and meditated in his bedroom. At the same time, he released his divine sense to envelop the city master's mansion and secretly observed the movements of the guards. When night fell. During this period of half an hour, 3 groups of messengers rushed into the city master's study. Obviously, at least 4 more things had happened and Qi Tianlong urgently needed to deal with them. In the dead of night, Qi Tianlong temporarily put down his official business and came to Ji Tianqing's residence. The two sat down in the living room. Qi Tianlong did not waste time and took out a communication jade slip. He went straight to the point and said, "Young Master Tianqing, Miss Ning sent back a communication jade slip. She asked me to tell you that there's some progress in that matter. But it's not clear in the jade slip. She hopes that you can go to the Ning family and talk to you face to face." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "Thank you for your trouble." Qi Tianlong got up and bowed. "If there's nothing else, I won't disturb your rest. Goodbye." "Wait." Ji Tianqing raised his hand and stopped him. He asked in a low voice, "Family master, you look in a hurry and anxious. You should be in trouble." Qi Tianlong did not hide it and said with a wry smile, "Young Master Tianqing, you have sharp eyes. It seems that some people are very dissatisfied with me taking over as the city master. I've only been in office for 2 days and they can't wait to show off to me." Chapter 2897. Without Qi Tianlong's explanation, Ji Tianqing already had the answer in his heart. At this time, there were only 2 or 3 forces that dared to create a massacre in Qingshan City to show their strength to Qi Tianlong. "Tell me the specific situation." Ji Tianqing leaned on the armchair and said calmly. Qi Tianlong sorted out his thoughts and said, "It all happened last night. There were tragedies in 4 towns. Shufeng town in the south of the city, Dianfeng town in the east, Linhai town in the north, and Sanshan town in the west. In these 4 towns, more than 100 people disappeared for no reason. More than 300 spiritual birds and beasts quietly turned into blood water. When the massacre happened, no one in the whole town noticed. After that, I sent the city guards to investigate. They found the skeletons of the missing people in the valley near the town. More than 100 complete skeletons were placed on the ground in the shape of a sharp sword." After a pause, Qi Tianlong added another sentence. "The tips of the 4 sharp swords were all pointing in the direction of Qingshan City." Hearing this, Ji Tianqing frowned and guessed the reason. He looked at Qi Tianlong calmly and asked, 4 towns were attacked at the same time in 4 directions of Qingshan City. Even the number of people and spiritual beasts that died was the same. The sharp swords of the skeletons were all pointed at Qingshan City. This is no longer a conspiracy, but a naked threat." Qi Tianlong nodded in agreement and said with indignation, "The other party's intention is very clear. They are unscrupulous to destroy the stability of Qingshan City and deliberately create chaos and panic. Previously, I promised the imperial envoy that I would maintain the stability of Qingshan City and that there would not be the slightest mistake. I just took over Qingshan City for 2 days and the other party has already created 4 tragedies. If the news spreads, everyone will think that I, Qi Tianlong, have no ability and no qualification to manage Qingshan City. Not only will the imperial envoy be humiliated, but the third prince will also lose face. Ji Tianqing added, this is only the other party's first move. They first disturbed the 4 towns outside the city. The sharp swords of the 4 skeletons were all pointed at Qingshan City. It means that if we don't give in, their next target will be Qingshan City. Qi Tianlong also thought of this point and said with a serious face, now that only 4 small towns are in trouble, I can still send a large number of city guards to block the news. However, if the other party sneaked into Qingshan City, killed the innocent, and created a bloody massacre, there was no way the news could be kept under wraps. The city was about to fall into chaos. At that time, as the new city lord, I will have no choice but to abdicate in order to give an explanation to the people. The imperial envoy and the third prince would lose face because of this. In fact, the king might even punish me in his rage. Ji Tianqing's expression was calm as he said, that's right, the consequences are just as you predicted. Although you have been wronged, these tragedies were deliberately caused by someone. However, the common people didn't understand and didn't care about this. The monarch did not want to know the reason, he only wanted to know the result. He only knows that you don't have the ability to govern Qingshan City well. Qi Tianlong thought for a moment and said, the other party did this to give me a warning. If it wasn't necessary, they wouldn't have started a massacre in Qingshan City. This means that they didn't want to make a big deal out of it to prevent the third prince and the king from investigating the culprit. They were only pressuring me, hoping that I would back off. Ji Tianqing nodded and asked, who do you think the culprit is? Qi Tianlong was silent for a moment, then said word by word, the Blood Sword Sect. Ji Tianqing also agreed with this answer. However, he still asked, why don't you suspect Princess Tianfeng? Qi Tianlong shook his head and said with certainty, he has the guts, but he doesn't necessarily have the qualifications. This matter is too risky for him. Once he does this, he will completely offend the third prince, and his future will be difficult to protect. However, the Blood Sword Sect is different. They have already pledged allegiance to another prince and are competing with the third prince for the throne. They are used to offending the third prince. Ji Tianqing revealed a look of praise and said with a gratified tone, I'm very pleased that you can remain calm, not panic in the face of danger, and even analyze the pros and cons of this matter. This way, when I leave Azure Mountain City, you will also be able to control it. Also, you have to remember that even if we know that the Blood Sword Sect is behind this, we can only tacitly agree to it. We don't have any evidence, so we can't use this to attack the Blood Sword Sect. The Blood Sword Sect can just throw the blame to the Black Mermaids. After all, the Black Mermaids have already taken the blame, so adding another one won't matter. Qi Tianlong nodded solemnly, indicating that he understood. Shortly after, he frowned and asked, young Master Tianqing, you've decided to leave? Yes. Ji Tianqing said calmly, I'll be leaving tomorrow morning. You have to cooperate with me to put on a show. The momentum must be great. Qi Tianlong was a little unwilling and asked, what if the other party's target is me and not you? Do you really have to leave? Ji Tianqing smiled and said, don't think that you're lucky. I'm the target of public criticism. The Blood Sword Sect and Princess Tianfeng aren't stupid. They know that I killed Yuan Qingkong and his son, Yan Zong, Consecrator Shi, and the elders of the Blood Sword Sect. The person they want to get rid of the most is me. Only when I leave Azure Mountain City and allow them to surround and kill me will they let the Qi family go. Qi Tianlong was silent for a long time. His heart was filled with anger and unwillingness as he clenched his fists tightly. That despicable Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword Sect. I only hate that I'm weak and that my words carry no weight. If there comes a day when I have the authority and power, I'll definitely destroy Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said with a smile, I'm glad that you have such intentions. However, you don't have to do this. You just focus on managing Azure Mountain City and wait for the show. At most, you'll get your wish in half a year. Ah! Qi Tianlong was shocked as he stared at Ji Tianqing with his mouth agape. He simply didn't dare believe that Ji Tianqing would actually be so confident to speak such bold words. In half a year, he would be able to destroy Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect. Wasn't this a little too exaggerated? He was just a heavenly god, not a high divine lord. He wasn't even a high divine lord with authority. How was it possible? Qi Tianlong couldn't believe it. However, ever since he met Ji Tianqing, he had seen Ji Tianqing create one miracle after another. He still had some expectations and a trace of hope in his heart. Since young Master Tianqing is so confident, I'll wait for the good news. Qi Tianlong said with emotion as he bowed deeply to Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing patted his shoulder and said with a smile, the Ning family and the third prince are two great helpers. If you can grasp them well, you might be able to become a princess in the future. In short, be careful and seek stability first. Chapter 2898. This was Ji Tianqing's last lesson to Qi Tianlong before he left. Qi Tianlong learned a lot from it and engraved it in his heart. After discussing business, Qi Tianlong took his leave and continued to deal with government affairs. Of course, he did not forget to prepare a mighty guard of honor according to Ji Tianqing's instructions. Midnight. Qi Huanji received the news that Ji Tianqing would be leaving early the next morning. He hurried to Ji Tianqing's residence and took out a purple jade box. Brother Tianqing, why are you in such a hurry to leave? If only you gave me 2 more days, I would have prepared all the gifts. Apparently, Qi Huanji's gift was not ready and was only 80% complete. Unfortunately, Ji Tianqing was leaving early the next morning, so he could only regret it. Ji Tianqing reached out and took the box. He smiled and said, all right, I'm already very happy that you have such intentions. No matter how many treasures and resources there are, they are just worldly possessions and are not as precious as a person's heart. Qi Huanji's heart was moved when he heard this. He said emotionally, that's right. Brother, you are absolutely right. Just like how you are indebted to the Qi family, even billions of divine stones cannot be exchanged for that. With your wisdom and talent, anyone who can get your help can easily be made a marquis, let alone a governor or a princess. Ji Tianqing just smiled and did not comment. In fact, Qi Huanji did not know what he was capable of. Being made a marquis in a small kingdom? Ha! That was too insulting. Of course, Qi Huanji was not to blame. He did not mean to underestimate Ji Tianqing. He could only blame himself for being born lowly and being ignorant. He would probably be a frog in a well for the rest of his life. Brother Tianqing, I know that you will travel the world and fly higher and farther in the future. So, there are only 3 rare treasures in the gifts I prepared for you. The other things are divine crystals, all kinds of pills, talismans, and formation plates that you need for cultivation. Unfortunately, those cultivation resources only add up to about 5 billion. Moreover, the quality of those divine crystals is slightly low, and the divine energy they contain isn't too abundant. Qi Huanji introduced the items in the treasure box with an apprehensive and ashamed expression. He felt that he had let Ji Tianqing down. Ji Tianqing naturally knew why those divine crystals were of a slightly lower grade. It was him who did it. He couldn't say it out loud, so he could only comfort Qi Huanji. You don't have to blame yourself. This gift is already very valuable. I'm very satisfied. Seeing that he was truly happy, Qi Huanji felt relieved. The next morning, the sun had just risen. The sky had just brightened, and on the plaza of the city lord's mansion, there was already a guard of honor of 200 people neatly lined up. After a burst of gongs and drums, the city lord, the young city lord, and Ji Tianqing appeared. In front of the honor guard, countless guards, and servants, Qi Tianlong loudly announced a piece of news. From this day onwards, young Master Tianqing will resign from his position in the Qi clan and leave Qingshan City. The Qi clan was very grateful for young Master Tianqing's help, and were very reluctant to let him leave. They had repeatedly urged him to stay. However, young Master Tianqing was a dragon among men with a bright future. Naturally, he couldn't be trapped in a small Qingshan city. The Qi clan didn't want to hinder young Master Tianqing's future, so they respectfully sent young Master Tianqing out of the city. I wish young Master Tianheng good fortune and that he will be able to overcome misfortune and become famous in the near future. Of course, in order to thank young Master Tianqing for his wholehearted help, the Qi clan had also prepared an extremely generous gift. As for what the gift was and how much it was worth, it was inconvenient for them to announce it to the public. Suddenly hearing this news, the crowd was in an uproar, and everyone was shocked. No one expected that at the most glorious moment of the Qi clan, young Master Tianqing, who had contributed the most to the Qi clan, would leave. What was going on? Could it be that young Master Tianqing was also going to follow the example of the legendary hermit who retired after achieving success? Or could it be that young Master Tianqing and the Qi clan were at odds, and had a dispute on the distribution of benefits? Or even, after the Qi clan gained both fame and fortune, he wanted to kick away the greatest contributor? All in all, 1,000 people had 1,000 faces, and everyone had different guesses. However, no one believed Qi Tianlong's words. It was too dignified. Was he trying to fool a 3-year-old child? Fortunately, these people were all from the city lord's mansion, and could be considered as Qi Tianlong's retainers and servants. Even if they had guesses and criticisms, they would only talk about it in private, and wouldn't dare to spread it casually. But Qi Tianlong had made such a big scene, and the entire Qingshan city's people would soon know about this matter. At that time, when 2 to 3 million people talked about it, it would be hard to stop. There would definitely be thousands of guesses. In fact, there would be a lot of malicious, insidious, and irresponsible rumors and slanders. This point, even the retainers and servants of the city lord's mansion could foresee. As the city lord, how could Qi Tianlong not foresee it? But he could only do this because this was Ji Tianqing's request, to let him cooperate with the show. It was to let everyone think that Ji Tianqing and the Qi clan didn't break up peacefully. There must be some unspeakable reason that the two sides parted ways and turned hostile. In this way, it would fulfill some people's wishes, and the Qi clan would be safer. When Qi Tianlong learned of Ji Tianqing's request, he immediately objected and rejected it. He was very clear that this would definitely destroy Ji Tianqing's reputation and affect his prestige. But he couldn't resist Ji Tianqing's persuasion and insistence, and could only agree and do as he was told. In this way, his guilt and gratitude towards Ji Tianqing became even more unforgettable. Soon, the sun rose slowly. Qi Tianlong and his son led the guard of honor, escorting Ji Tianqing out of the city lord's mansion, and walked towards the south city gate. Along the way, countless commoners who heard the news and rushed over crowded the streets to watch and discuss. The news spread very quickly. 2 hours later, when the guard of honor left the south city gate and respectfully sent off Ji Tianqing, half of the people in the city knew. Qingshan City was bustling with noise and excitement. Millions of people were discussing, and many large and small forces and families were also secretly analyzing. Of course, countless spies lurking in Qingshan City also reported this news to their respective forces. In short, from today onwards, Ji Tianqing and the Qi clan broke off, and no longer had anything to do with each other. At least in the eyes of the public, this was the case. Qi Tianlong and his son stood outside the city gate, watching Ji Tianqing fly into the sky and disappear into the horizon, their eyes were full of guilt and reluctance. This was not an act, but a true display of emotions. But unfortunately, in the eyes of others, they felt that the father and son's acting skills were superb. After standing outside the city gate for a long time, Qi Tianlong gave the order to return home. The mighty guard of honor stopped beating gongs and drums, and returned to the city lord's mansion in silence. Hundreds of thousands of onlookers also dispersed. This matter ended here. Everyone knew that for a long time, Qingshan City would return to peace. Without the monstrous Tianqing, Qingshan City would be as calm as water, no longer exciting. Chapter 2899. 6 hours later. Ji Tianqing had already flown 500,000 miles away from Green Mountain City. He had already removed his disguise and returned to his original appearance. He was wearing a white robe, with black hair and black eyes. He was a handsome human god. Moreover, he was riding a majestic black dragon, galloping high up in the sky. Now that he had left the Qi family in Green Mountain City, there was no need for him to disguise himself. He believed that the Blood Sword sect and Princess Tianfeng would be watching him leave Green Mountain City. Even if he didn't use his divine sense, he could guess it. There must be a lot of spies and scouts in the mountains not far from him, watching his movements. Furthermore, those people had already heard the news and knew that he would pass by Tianfeng County before going to Qianxua County. However, this was the result he wanted. The black dragon flew south. He sat cross-legged on the dragon's back and meditated with his eyes closed. The silver-haired white dragon waited beside him. Seeing his master so confident and relaxed, the white dragon couldn't help but ask, "Master, if we leave in such a big way, people will think that we have fallen out with the Qi family. Aren't you worried that Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect can't wait to kill us? Although you are powerful and don't fear their schemes, we are still weak. But after all, we are alone and weak. Those two forces have many experts and are local tyrants. We will definitely be at a disadvantage." Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said indifferently, "Although I have never met Princess Tianfeng and the Blood Sword sect, I don't know their strength. However, this is just a small divine nation. Even in the entire Great Yan Empire, the most powerful people are only high divine lords. Even peak divine lords might not exist. God kings are unheard of. Tell me, what do I have to fear?" The white dragon was stunned and said with surprise, "Master, it seems that you don't want to keep a low profile and develop. If you go south in such a big way, you will definitely attract endless slaughter. Are you going to kill your way to Qianxua City or even the entire Blood Flame divine nation?" Ji Tianqing didn't deny it and said indifferently, "As a true god and heavenly god, I need to keep a low profile and develop. Now that Master has already recovered to the Divine Lord realm, what need is there to have too many misgivings? If these gods of the non-human kind insist on seeking death, I don't mind killing them until their heads roll and staining the mountains and rivers red with blood. Anyway, the more divine race powerhouses I kill, the faster your master's strength increases." Bai Long's eyes sparkled as he said expectantly, "If that's the case, then it's going to be interesting." Looking at the entire Bloodfire divine kingdom, he reckoned that his master would be unstoppable. However, this kind of massacre is quite different from your style 1,000 years ago. Back then, Kenshin was also decisive in killing, and millions of corpses fell to his sword. However, the Kenshin would only kill those who deserved to be killed. They would never kill the innocent, nor would they allow the killing to continue. In principle, we will exercise restraint. As for the current Ji Tianqing, White Dragon always felt that he had let go of himself and was leaning towards the devil. He thought to himself, could it be that teacher was affected by the devouring divine ability in his deity heart was demonized? This shouldn't be the case. Master has the heart of a divine king. How could he be so easily bewitched? At this moment, a figure flashed beside Ji Tianqing. A graceful fiery red figure appeared. This person was Ji Ku. She wore a fiery red dress, and her scarlet hair reached her waist. Her entire body was bathed in holy light. Little White, don't let your imagination run wild. Big Brother Tianqing definitely won't go berserk, nor will he become a great devil. He just can't wait and wants to step out of the boundless heaven continent as soon as possible to find his old subordinates and take revenge on the 5 divine kings. In addition, although he never mentions Wuhan, this is his biggest worry. He's worried about Wuhan's safety. He just wants to recover to the divine king realm as soon as possible so that he can go to the dragon realm to find Wuhan. Ji Ku stood beside Ji Tianqing and explained the reason in a calm tone. Only then did White Dragon come to a realization. He nodded repeatedly and said, I see. Master's wife understands teacher's thoughts better. Ji Ku nodded slightly and said with a somewhat gloomy expression, actually, senior sister and I both understand Big Brother Tianqing's thoughts. We share his anxieties and worries. Unfortunately, the speed of our strength improvement is still too slow. It's difficult to help him at the moment. Hearing this, the White Dragon also showed a look of shame. The atmosphere was a little gloomy. Ji Tianqing smiled and comforted them, you don't have to blame yourselves. Compared to all the other gods, your growth is already fast enough. We can't settle down in the short term. You just have to work hard and cultivate. As for plundering cultivation resources and treasures, I can do this kind of thing. To put it simply, he would be outside for the short term. Ji Ku, Yin Yao, and the others only needed to cultivate in seclusion in the divine pagoda and improve their strength. In the future, if Ji Tianqing could find his old subordinates or establish a powerful force, they would come out to help. This was the best choice. At this moment, in the vast sea of clouds ahead, a bloody light suddenly lit up the sky. Whoosh! A vast expanse of crimson light with a radius of 10,000 kilometers swept over from all directions, blocking the black dragon's path. In the dazzling bloody light, hundreds of figures could be vaguely seen. The leaders were 2 divine lord powerhouses with tyrannical auras. The one on the left was 100 feet tall and his whole body was golden like a giant ape. The divine lord on the right was more than 30 feet tall and wore a purple robe and a bronze mask. His body was as straight as a sword and he held a crimson sword in his arms. His aura was extremely fierce. The other 100 or so people were all heavenly god realm experts dressed in tight-fitting black clothes and wearing skull masks. Under the cover of the bloody light, these people sealed off the sky for thousands of miles and blocked Black Dragon's path. The Black Dragon was forced to stop. He maintained a distance of 100 miles from that group of people and remained vigilant. Ji Tianqing, Ji Ku, and White Dragon all frowned and looked at the bloody light with murderous intent in their eyes. He. It's rare that they can wait until now. How long have they been waiting outside the city? White Dragon's face was as cold as ice and he said in a low voice, they are indeed the bastards of the Blood Sword sect. From the looks of it, the massacre that happened in the 4 small towns was done by this group of people. Ji Ku's gaze swept across the experts and finally landed on the 2 divine lords. Her eyes were a little serious as she warned, Big Brother Tianqing, those are 2 middle-level divine lords. You have to be careful. Ji Tianqing smiled disapprovingly and said with a relaxed expression, one is a 5th-level divine lord and the other is a 6th-level divine lord. There's nothing to worry about. Moreover, they are not the only ones waiting to ambush us here. Ji Ku and White Dragon immediately understood his meaning and became even more vigilant. At the same time, the purple-robed divine lord and the giant also looked at Black Dragon with sharp eyes and sized up Ji Tianqing's group. The purple-robed divine lord was rather surprised and a look of astonishment flashed across his eyes. How could this be? Did we find the wrong person? That shouldn't be. Ever since that kid left Azure Mountain City, our spies have been following him. We can't be wrong. End of chapter. Chapter 2900. The purple-robed Divine Lord's expression was very strange. News from more than 10 spies proved that Ji Tianqing had left Azure Mountain City alone. He didn't have a mount, companions, or followers. And now, not only was the white-robed kid riding a black dragon, he also had 2 companions. Most importantly, the white-robed youth was a human. He didn't look like a revered Tianqing at all. At this moment, the purple-robed Divine Lord couldn't help but wonder if he had stopped the wrong person. Seeing the purple-robed Divine Lord in a daze, the 300-meter-tall Divine Lord Giant Ape sent a voice transmission in puzzlement. "Lord Kenshin, what's the matter?" The purple-robed Divine Lord wearing a bronze mask was known as Lord Kenshin. He was the left protector of the Blood Sword sect. 500 years ago, his strength had already reached the 6th level of the Divine Lord realm. For the past few hundred years, he had been nurturing his Divine Tao foundation, accumulating strength and comprehension, preparing to break through to the 7th stage. Once he succeeded, he would be promoted to a high Divine Lord. He was one of the 4 elders of the Blood Sword sect and specialized in the Blood Sword Manual's Heart Demon Sword. His attainments were unfathomable. Once the Heart Demon Blood Sword was used, not only could it slay the body of a divine spirit, it could also use the Heart Demon to destroy the soul, making it impossible to guard against. In the 5,000 years since he became famous, the number of Divine Lord experts who died under his sword was at least 2,000, if not 3,000. Normally, Lord Kenshin would stay in the Blood Sword sect's main altar to cultivate and nurture his Divine Tao. Only when there was an important mission or an extremely troublesome expert would the Blood Sword sect send him out. After a month of fighting, Ji Tianqing had become an extremely troublesome expert in the eyes of the Blood Sword sect. But the scene in front of him made Lord Kenshin somewhat dazed. Hearing the Giant Ape Divine Lord's question, he immediately regained his senses and shook his head. The information I received was that Tianqing left Azure Mountain City alone. But this human youth in front of us doesn't look like Tianqing. Not only is he riding a black dragon, he also has 2 companions. The Giant Ape Divine Lord nodded and said in a deep voice, "You mean we intercepted the wrong target?" Lord Kenshin nodded and said, "That's possible." Not only was Tianqing powerful, but he was also good at scheming and scheming. I suspect that he may have gotten rid of the spies and quietly escaped. As for the 3 people in front of us, they should be the bait that he deliberately set up. Sir God Giant Ape grinned and sneered with a bloodthirsty face. If that's the case, it means those 3 guys are related to Tianqing. Then what are we waiting for? Take them down immediately and torture them until they reveal Tianqing's whereabouts. Kenshin Kun was an executioner who killed people like scything flax. How could he be merciful? However, he gestured to Sir God Giant Ape to not act rashly. There's no rush for now. Let's observe the situation first. There's another group of people who seem to be more anxious than us. Where is it? Sir God Giant Ape immediately became alert and released his consciousness to search around. Meanwhile, in the sky to the northwest, there was also a black shadow that was thousands of feet long. It was rushing over as fast as lightning. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, the black shadow came close and stopped in the sky 100 miles away from the black dragon. After the brilliance dissipated, the black shadow could be seen clearly. It was a divine vessel. The divine vessel was simple and there were no obvious features. There was no emblem on the body of the divine vessel, so it was hard to tell which force it belonged to. However, Ji Tianqing did not need to think too much to guess that the divine vessel was most likely sent by Princess Tianfeng. However, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, Infanta Tianfeng had concealed the characteristics and insignia of the divine worship. Even the masters and experts on the divine battleship would not be Princess Tianfeng's men. They were most likely assassins that she had secretly trained or people that she had borrowed from other forces. Just as expected. After the hatch of the divine vessel opened, hundreds of elite experts flew out. They were all at LV-7 or LV-8 Heavenly God realm. These elite experts were all wearing black armor and helmets that covered their faces. Only their eyes could be seen. The two leading experts were also Sir Gods. They were middle-aged men who were more than 10 feet tall. Both of them were wearing pitch-black armor and the same black iron mask. They looked very mysterious. Tianqing. You won't be able to escape today. Just surrender. The moment they flew out of the divine vessel, the leading Sir God in black armor shouted with murderous intent. However, when he saw the situation clearly, his body shook and he was stunned on the spot. Who are you? Where is that bastard Tianqing? The other Sir God in black armor pointed at Tianqing and the other two and asked in a dignified tone. At the same time, the two Sir Gods saw a crimson light that covered the sky 100 miles away. In the crimson light, there were two Sir Gods leading hundreds of black-robed experts. Seeing this, the two Sir Gods in black armor looked at each other and instantly understood. The group of people shrouded in the crimson light had the same intention. They were here to kill Tianqing. Everyone was silent and the atmosphere was a bit strange. Then, Tianqing stood up and looked at the two groups of people calmly. He said loudly, "I don't care where you are from or what your purpose is. I just want to say that you have found the wrong person. I am City Lord Shangning of the Raging Flame Divine Country. I am on a business trip to your country and I just passed by." Tianqing's voice was calm and contained strong confidence and majesty. Even Ji Ku and Bai Long couldn't find any loopholes, let alone the people of the Blood Sword sect and the Princess of Tianfeng. The two groups of people were stunned on the spot. The expressions of the experts and the four Sir Gods became quite interesting. This guy is full of confidence. He doesn't seem to be lying. Did we really find the wrong person? That's possible. Tianqing, that bastard, has always been crafty and cunning. I think that bastard might have escaped by another route. The city lord of Shangning in front of us just happened to pass by here unknowingly. Tianqing, that bastard, is too treacherous. If we kill city lord Shangning directly, we will cause trouble for the Raging Flame Divine Country. Don't trust city lord Shangning too much. Maybe he is Tianqing in disguise. Tianqing is sinister and cunning. Who can tell the truth from the lies? Yes. Don't let your guard down. Everyone was discussing secretly through voice transmission. Most of them were fooled by Tianqing and believed that he was the city lord of a neighboring country. However, Kenshin was still suspicious and didn't want to believe it so easily. At this moment, Tianqing took out another black iron order and waved it in front of the crowd. He said righteously, "This is my city leader's order. All of you, take a good look. I have an important mission and will be heading to your country's capital soon. I don't care who you are, get out of my way. If you dare to disrespect this seat will definitely report to your king and punish you." After that, Tianqing put away the dark iron order and ordered Black Dragon to fly south. The two Sir Gods in black armor hesitated. They wanted to stop Black Dragon, but they didn't dare to take the risk. The two of them were stunned and discussed secretly, but they couldn't make up their minds. Even the people of the Blood Sword sect seemed to be stunned, standing in place as they watched Black Dragon leave. Chapter 2901. Black Dragon left unhurriedly. 100 breaths later, he was 20,000 miles away. At this moment, Lord Kenshin was about to leave with the people of Blood Sword sect. The two black-armored divine sovereigns hurried forward and respectfully greeted them. "Seniors, please wait. Lord Kenshin and Lord Giant Ape stopped and turned to look at the two black-armored divine sovereigns. What's the matter? What do you want? Lord Kenshin's tone was calm, cold, and indifferent. Lord Giant Ape's temper flared, and a dangerous glint appeared in his eyes. The two black-armored divine sovereigns hurriedly cupped their hands and explained. Seniors, please calm your anger. We have no ill intentions. There are some things that we have a tacit understanding of. However, we would like to ask the two seniors, why didn't you stop City Lord Tranquility and let him leave so easily? Lord Kenshin sneered, fools. He announced his identity and took out his identity token, indicating that he was the city lord of a neighboring country. Who would dare to attack them? Not to mention killing them, even injuring and detaining them would cause a dispute between the two countries. At that time, even the ruler would have to apologize to the ruler of the neighboring country. Can you bear the consequences? The two black-armored divine sovereigns froze for a moment before smiling embarrassedly. So that's how it is. Senior, you're so considerate. Since Senior has decided, we won't overstep our boundaries. We'll see you off. The two didn't dare to say anything more. They bowed and respectfully saw the people of Blood Sword Sect off. Whoosh! The sky was filled with bloody light as it flew toward the south. The two black-armored divine sovereigns stood in place and watched the people of Blood Sword Sect disappear into the horizon. After a moment of silence, the divine sovereign on the left said, "All right, there's no need to watch anymore. The princess told us not to provoke the people of Blood Sword Sect. Contact other spies and find a way to investigate Tianqing's whereabouts." After saying that, he turned to leave. The black-armored divine sovereign on the right trembled as he suddenly thought of something. Hey Ba, have you seen the city lord token of a neighboring country? The divine emperor called Hey Ba frowned in confusion. I've never seen him before. Why do you ask? The divine monarch on the right said with a burning gaze, I've never seen him before, so we can't tell if that city lord Shangning is real or not. However, the people of the Blood Sword Sect had always been arrogant and despotic. They also have the same doubts. Why would they let that person go so easily? Despot vaguely understood what he meant, and said in a low voice, Qi Liuxing, you mean, the people of the Blood Sword Sect lied to us? They don't believe that city lord Shangning at all. They just don't want us to find out. Actually, they didn't go home, but went to hunt down that tranquil city lord. Qi Liuxing quickly nodded and said in a serious tone, that's right. If we chase after them now, we should still be able to make it. Hey Ba was a bit hesitant as he worriedly asked, but by the time we get there, the Blood Sword Sect will have already taken down City Lord Shangning. Don't tell me that we can snatch someone from the Blood Sword Sect. Qi Liuxing sneered, the Blood Sword Sect has been like the sun in the sky in recent years. Of course, we can't provoke them. However, we can watch from the sidelines and see who that City Lord Shangning is. If we're lucky enough, we might even be able to find Tianqing's whereabouts. Only then can we complete the princess's mission. Despot pondered for a moment before clenching his teeth and making up his mind, fine, then we'll do as you say. Let's take a gamble. That's right. Qi Liuxing revealed a gratified smile. Then, the two returned to the divine ship with over 100 black-armored experts and chased toward the south. Meanwhile, Black Dragon was carrying Ji Tianqing, Ji Ku, and White Dragon, speeding through the sky. Suddenly, a bloody light burst out from the sea of clouds behind them. Heart Kenshin led over 100 elite experts and chased after them as fast as lightning. The distance between the two sides was constantly shrinking. 8,000 li, 5,000 li, 3,000 li, soon, the distance between the two sides was reduced to 100 li. Heart Kenshin shouted in a booming voice, City Lord Shangning, please wait. As he shouted, Sir God Giant Ape and the other experts spread out and encircled him. When the two sides were still 20,000 li apart, Ji Tianqing sensed that the people of Blood Sword sect were following them. Only now did he have Black Dragon stop and turn to look at Heart Kenshin. Hee, this guy is indeed not easy to deceive. He's still caught up. Ji Tianqing sneered, cold killing intent flashing in his eyes. White Dragon and Ji Ku both nodded inwardly with a sneer on their lips. This guy just escaped a calamity and doesn't know it yet. He's actually rushing to his death. His courage is commendable. This guy is very strong. He's either an elder or a protector of Blood Sword sect. While the three were conversing, Heart Kenshin had already caught up. He looked at Ji Tianqing with a faint smile and asked in a playful tone, "May I ask for City Lord Shang Ning's name? Also, can I have a look at your identity token?" Ji Tianqing raised an eyebrow and sneered disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? You think you're worthy to ask for my name and see my City Lord token?" Heart Kenshin's face turned red from the humiliation and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He didn't bother to keep up the pretense and sneered, "He, you dare to be so arrogant in your own country's territory? You really don't know the meaning of death. I don't care if you're the real City Lord Shang Ning or a fake, I can't let you go. Men, capture him for me." Heart Kenshin waved his hand and the giant ape Divine Lord and hundreds of elite experts pounced on Black Dragon with murderous intent. Everyone waved their swords, spears, swords, and halberds, splashing out divine arts that blotted out the sky as they surrounded Ji Tianqing's group. Most of the divine art shadows that blotted out the sky were multicolored and had a variety of elemental powers. There were only 10 experts who cultivated the sword arts of the Blood Sword sect, and all of them were elites. Ji Tianqing immediately realized that only Xian Kenshin and the 10 experts were disciples of the Blood Sword sect. The giant ape Divine Lord and the 90 black-clothed experts were either vassals of the Blood Sword sect or helpers invited from other forces. A bunch of reckless fools, I'll send you to heaven. Ji Tianqing sneered. His wide sleeves fluttered, and his palms instantly shot out thousands of dazzling golden sword lights. Swish! Swish! In the blink of an eye, thousands of golden sword lights had sealed off an area of 250 kilometers around them. They were as dazzling as the scorching sun in the sky. The sword lights crisscrossed and shuttled back and forth, mercilessly killing many black-clothed experts. The overwhelming divine spell shadows were immediately destroyed by the sword light, and a violent shockwave burst forth. Then, one after another, the black-clothed experts were cut in half by the dazzling golden sword light. Blood splattered everywhere. Ji Ku also took out her origin stone divine spear and attacked with all her strength. She waved her divine spear with all her might, thrusting out 360 sky-piercing spear shadows in a row. Wherever the sky-piercing spear shadows went, countless divine lights were shattered. The 5-colored divine flames swept across, and the experts that came into contact with the nirvana and heaven-burning divine flames were immediately turned into pitch-black charcoal. Bai Long also transformed into a silver-white divine dragon and shuttled through the sky like lightning, fiercely fighting on the battlefield. Giant Ape and the Divine Lord Heart Sword were unprepared, he directly used the heaven-destroying sword formation. But he had only used 80% of his strength. He had not used his full strength, nor had he used his trump card. The battle situation within the heaven-destroying sword formation changed again. Ji Tianqing restrained Mr. Giant Ape and the Divine Lord Heart Sword, so the two could only attack with full strength. They had no time to protect the black-clothed experts. Meanwhile, Ji Ku, Bai Long, and Black Dragon were doing their best to kill the black-clothed experts. The 40-odd black-clothed experts who were lucky enough to survive were all heavily injured and dripping with blood. After being killed by the sword formation for so long, their divine power was rapidly weakened, and their battle strength was also greatly reduced. When they were attacked by Ji Ku and the others again, they were unable to resist and were forced to retreat. They had no choice but to flee for their lives. As screams rang out one after another, blood blossomed one after another. The 40-odd black-clothed experts' hearts became heavier and heavier, and they became more and more desperate. One expert after another, with grief, helplessness, and despair, died under the sword light in sword shadows. Unknowingly, another 100 breaths passed. Xian Jian and the Divine Lord Giant Ape were still besieging Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing was unharmed, but their clothes were stained with blood, and their divine power was constantly weakening. As for the black-clothed experts, more than 90% of them had been killed. Only 8 experts were still alive, but they were also fleeing for their lives and had no battle strength left. These 8 experts were all direct disciples of the Blood Sword sect. Their strength had reached the 8th level of the Heaven God realm, and their sword techniques were outstanding. Even with the help of the heaven-destroying sword formation, Ji Ku and the others would need to spend some time and effort to kill them. At this moment, Ji Tianqing suddenly unleashed his full strength and used his trump card. Celestial Dragon Tyrant Body. He gave a low roar, and his body emitted a dazzling golden light. He instantly turned into a golden light giant that was 1,000 feet tall. The golden divine light illuminated the world, and the invisible divine power was intense and vast. Ji Tianqing was like a god of war descending from the sky, his aura oppressive and domineering to the extreme. He looked down at Xian Jian and the Divine Lord Giant Ape from above and shouted coldly in an indifferent tone, "A middle-level Divine Lord is nothing more than this. If that's all you have, then obediently accept your death." This was the first time he fought with Divine Lord experts after advancing to Divine Lord. Originally, he was still not too sure if he could kill Xian Jian and the Divine Lord Giant Ape with his first-level Divine Lord strength. These 2 middle-level Divine Lords, one was at the 5th level and the other was at the 6th level. Furthermore, they were both old monsters that had cultivated for 10,000 years. Their strength and foundation were extremely robust. But now, Ji Tianqing already had an answer. When he went all out, he was equivalent to a high-level Divine Lord. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.